to make sure that I get all my beauty sleep in so that I'm ready to go for the 4 hours every day. And so I set an alarm, though, for 6:45 because I was going on Robbie and Rex Show this morning at 7, and I woke up around 6:20. And I've got one of those little Amazon little tiny hockey puck things, and I just said, Alexa, play Monday Night Football's theme. And I just heard that music, and between that and the Hank Williams Jr. intro that they used to have for Monday Night Football, I was excited. The Titans open up the preseason tonight on the road at Baltimore, and I just want to start this before we get into the game because I think there's a lot of interesting things about today's game that are seriously important for this team, not just for right now but also for the future. But before I get into all of that, I just want to talk about the reality of if you are Mr. I don't care about the preseason or Mr. Who cares about the preseason, I don't have time for you. I'm not interested in people that sit there every day and want to talk the NFL and want to talk the NFL in March about free agency and want to talk the NFL in April about the draft and want to talk the NFL when it comes to training camp and OTAs and then tell me, I don't care about the preseason, because there have been a lot of preseason games where big moments have happened, star players have emerged, and it's football. It's Vrabel on a sideline with a headset. It's the Titan helmets out there, not those little Guardian caps that they've been wearing in practice, but the real helmets. It's the real uniforms. They're going to be wearing those light blue pants that my dad has hated for 20 years. It's football. And tonight we have it. So I'm sorry if you are the kind of person who has to just absolutely rain on the parade of the start of football. I see the TV ratings. I know a lot of people won't watch Titans tonight. And that's what we're going to do. And here's the reality of what tonight means for the Titans. Because a lot of people will look at it and say, Ryan Tannehill's probably not going to play today. In fact, I don't even think he made the trip. Tannehill's not going to play. Henry's not going to play. Robert Woods is not going to play. Austin Hooper's not going to play. Taylor Lewan's not going to play. Ben Jones is not going to play. Jeffrey Simmons is not going to play. Kevin Byard's not going to play. But a lot of guys who are going to play are the important key cogs of the future of the organization. The Titans put out on their own Instagram page a picture of the team departing for Baltimore yesterday as they got on the plane. And I noted who was getting on, what players they took pictures of. Every year during the regular season, there's always a picture of Derrick Henry in some gaudy outfit as he gets set to get on the plane. Yesterday, Treylon Burks was getting on the plane. Caleb Farley was getting on the plane. Malik Willis was getting on the plane. And all of those guys are going to play tonight. So here's what it really is, in my opinion, for the Titans. This is what I think tonight is about. It is essentially the debutante ball for what might be the future of the organization. Treylon Burks, who had a questionable offseason with a solid training camp so far, has never been tackled as a member of the Tennessee Titans. Tonight, he'll be tackled. Caleb Farley last year, after the year that he had, where it was a controversial draft pick at the time, given the back injury, he was slow getting his way on the football field in training camp. He finally got on the football field, and in that Monday night game early in the season against Buffalo, tore his ACL and never really contributed. He will be on the football field tonight. Those are big-time players for this team. If you're one of the people, and I know that this is how they think because it's what they've said, if you're one of the people who looked at the Cincinnati playoff loss last year, and you said, boy, I just wish the Titans got another crack at it. I just wish the Titans could get back there and go even further. Jeffrey Simmons did an interview over the weekend in which he talked about a running play in which he didn't like his technique in the divisional round of the playoffs against the Bengals. Simmons had a great game, but he's focused about the technique that he didn't like on that one running play. That's how bad this team wants back to where they were. But I think we all know that that team that they had last year and the team that they had the year before that they were only capable of so much. That they had a good team. They had good players. Derrick Henry's a really good player. A.J. Brown was a really good player. Jeffrey Simmons is a really good player. But to compete at the top of the league, maybe they were missing something. Now, I think it might be quarterback. But every team, every offseason is always looking for that key infusion of talent, be it via free agency, be it via the draft, or a trade. With the Titans, they think they got some really talented players. They traded away A.J. Brown to get Treylon Burks. Can Treylon Burks play? Training camp says so, but I've never seen him play in a game. He's playing in a game tonight. The Titans took the huge risk last year on Caleb Farley. They compared it to the risk they took on Jeffrey Simmons, though I believe a torn ACL and a back surgery are two totally different things. Farley misses all of last year with the knee injury, comes back this year. They're probably expecting him to be the cornerback version of Jeffrey Simmons. And then there's Malik Willis. And this is going to be the story tonight. There's going to be a lot of guys that you've never heard of if you're just a casual Titan fan. A guy by the name of Julius Chestnut at running back, or Terry Godwin at wide receiver. But Malik Willis will be the story tonight. Good, bad, ugly, indifferent. Malik Willis, in my opinion, will be the story. And this is the first time that you all will get to see him. It is the first time that we all, even those of us who cover training camp, get to see Malik Willis. It'll be the first time that we get to see Malik with the possibility of getting hit. It's the first time Malik will be out there in what is completely unscripted. Sure, they have unscripted segments of practice, but it is Malik gets out there, and then he throws a pass or two, and then he throws another pass or two, and then they run the ball or two, and then they come off. This, throw an interception, you're off. Have an 11-play drive, need a 12th play, stay on. Malik Willis has never done this. And in the NFL, Malik Willis has never gotten hit by a defensive lineman. And tonight, Malik Willis might get hit by a defensive lineman. And that changes things for a lot of players. We talked about it. John Robinson said over the weekend that Malik Willis has been best in 7-on-7. Why is that? No fear of getting hit. Malik Willis likes to run in practice a lot. I was going over my notes today from practice to get an idea of who Malik Willis is going to throw the ball to tonight, and I kept noticing 7 scrambles right, 7 scrambles left, 7 scrambles up the middle, 7 scrambles good slide. Well, in practice, nobody hits Malik Willis. In a game, people hit Malik Willis. This game will eventually be viewed by the entire country. NFL Network will surely show it after tonight's primetime game of the Giants and the Patriots, which might be an absolutely unmitigated disaster of a football game. But this will be on national TV in one form or another. Everybody loves talking about the future. I'm always reminded of what the word potential means. It's French for not good enough. And I want to see the potential today. I want to see the potential of Roger McCreary that I've seen in practice, where if he gets a little too handsy, unlike where the DB coach might stand in the back, look at it on film the next day and say, that was probably holding, not sure, that was probably pass interference, there's going to be a yellow flag that comes out. I want to see the potential of Kyle Phillips in the slot, somebody that when he takes a rep in practice, I hear veteran players yelling, Welker. Let's see what Kyle Phillips does in a real game. But most importantly, for me, it's Burks, it's Farley, and it's Willis. Because when I think of the future of the Tennessee Titans, the current core as constructed will not be around for forever. Ryan Tannehill is in his 30s. Derrick Henry is 28. Taylor Lewan is entering the final years of his contract and is approaching 30. Kevin Byard is in the middle of his prime. Just like we saw with Delaney Walker and Jarrell Casey, and eventually those windows close. The next window of the Titans, which may bleed over with the current window of the Titans, will always be about star players. Losing Eddie George, replace him with Chris Brown, now your team's in trouble. Lose Jarrell Casey and replace him with Jeffrey Simmons, and on you go. The next wave of the Tennessee Titans is going to be about guys like Treylon Burks, Caleb Farley, and Malik Willis. So again, You can be the guy who doesn't like the preseason. You can be the guy or gal who complains about, I wish it was a real game, or it doesn't mean anything, or it. Guess what? Malik Willis is going to get 3 cracks at this. 3 cracks. Because he's not playing, in my opinion, in the regular season. And I think today a lot of you will see how far away Malik Willis probably is right now. And I mean this with no disrespect, but how far away Malik probably is right now to being ready to help out the Titans in a regular season game. But this is all he's got. And I think we'll see tonight Mike Vrabel take it very, very seriously with Malik Willis. I think you will see decent players. You won't see the veteran guys like a Ben Jones playing with Malik Willis, but I think you'll see good players who are going to contribute this year like a Chiga Okonkwo play with Malik Willis. So I'm fired up. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Expectations for tonight, excitement level for tonight. I heard Paul Kaharski go on the morning show yesterday. I don't like the preseason. Okay. You can go ahead and not like the preseason because the rest of us are watching it. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. I think Mike Vrabel goes into preseason games and probably approaches them differently than, say, you or I do. I think there are things that he wants to see, and then I think there are things that he needs to see. And there's a couple of players that he needs to see play to their potential. We'll get to that coming up next right here, Stillman & Company, delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman & Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
33 hours of savings this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at Electronic Express. These deals are so hot, they only last 33 hours. Get a Hisense 65-inch 4K TV for just $399 or a JBL Bluetooth speaker for just $99. Save up to 50% on 4K TVs, computers, housewares, appliances, and more. Don't miss out on a Samsung Galaxy Watch 4 for $229 or a Medea laundry pair for just $399 each. Now through Saturday, shop online or at all Electronic Express locations.
Hey, homeowners and home buyers, listen up. Loan Pronto has 30-year fixed rates with APRs in the 4s and 15-year loans with APRs that start with 3. Hey, it's Willie Donick. Don't be confused by the media's hype about interest rates. At Loan Pronto, their rates have plummeted recently, and they're currently refinancing homeowners who locked in a 5 or 6% rate. So if you've got a rate over 5%, or if your lender has you pre-approved or locked in at anything 5% or higher, you need to call Loan Pronto now. Not all lender rates are created equal. Loan Pronto's rates are down big time, and you need to take advantage, whether you're buying, refinancing, getting cash out, or even if you just closed a few weeks ago. Call Loan Pronto today, and you could save tens of thousands of dollars. Loan Pronto can help keep more money in your pocket. Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Arthritis and rheumatic conditions are leading causes of disabilities among adults. Joint replacement could be the solution. The team at Houston Clinic Orthopedics approaches each case with a complete evaluation to see if surgery is right for you. Houston Clinic Orthopedics specializes in arthritis, hip, knee, and shoulder replacements, hip fractures, osteoarthritis of the hip, and joint pain. To experience world-class orthopedic care and see a list of all physicians, visit their website at tn.houston.com and book your appointment online today.
Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
At Mitchell's Mr. Transmission, we also offer free towing with any major repairs. If your vehicle has a breakdown and you should need any type towing, towing is available through Dad's Towing Service. Dad's is a professional towing company in Nashville that provides all types towing and recovery, 24 hours a day.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job?
Not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Never miss a moment of the show.
What is this? Check it out.
Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Yeah, I mean, I think Caleb has made some plays for us. He's done some really good things, and there's still some things that he needs to clean up. But he's moving well. He's a bigger corner with fluid hips and good speed and great length. But some things that he's got to certainly continue to improve on. But he's working at it. And Rogers has come in and just covered his guy for the most part. He's given up a couple here or there, but for a younger player to be playing, two spots. He plays inside, he plays outside, and learning the calls. I haven't seen a whole lot of busts from him as far as for not being where he's supposed to be. When we ask him questions in the squad meeting, he answers them. He answers them confidently and correctly. So that's impressive. You can tell that he's immersed himself in the playbook. He's studied, and he's been really, really sticky in coverage. So excited to see him continue to progress.
There you go, John Robinson talking about Caleb Farley and Roger McCreary. I believe Farley is for sure playing tonight, from what I can gather. I believe Farley made the trip to Baltimore. He will play tonight. Traylon Burks made the trip to Baltimore, and he will play tonight. I think the preseason is probably different for you and I about our level of interest. When we get into the fourth quarter and we're watching the Titans against the Ravens, Dan Hellie and Charles Davis will be sitting there. They'll be talking about all kinds of stuff about, let's just kind of try to pass the time in this fourth quarter game. And there's another run for Julius Chestnut, gain of 3. All right. By the way, get your Titans season tickets. They're on sale now. That's what will happen in the fourth quarter. Mike Vrabel does not approach the preseason with the same level of apathy at times as it feels like it can get for you and I. I think there's a difference, though, between what he wants to see and what he needs to see. Malik Willis will play a lot tonight. Mike Vrabel wants to see Malik Willis look like a quarterback. He doesn't need to see Malik Willis look like an NFL quarterback yet, but I'm sure he wants to. The decision-making that they talk about that he's been so good at and how he's been able to get the play call and then give it into the players and then get out there and run the play well. They want to see all of that. The timing that they say needs to be better, they want to see that. They don't need to see that. The guy who's going to be doing that, Ryan Tannehill, they know he can do that. The guy, if something were to happen to Tannehill, knock on wood, that would come in and do that if Tannehill got hurt, Logan Woodside, he's done that too. So they don't need to see anything there. Burks and Farley are different, and I'm going to tell you why. Number one, Burks and Farley have first-round talent. It is so unbelievably evident every time I step out on the practice field how much more talent a guy like Caleb Farley has than, say, a smaller or an undersized or not as fast or not as long defensive back, like, say, Shakur Brown, a first-year player out of Michigan State. The talent level is not the same. Even Roger McCreary, who's had an excellent camp and who was taken in the second round and who was a lockdown, shutdown corner at Auburn, does not have first-round talent. Why? Because his arms are too short. And that is something that an NFL team will not draft a guy in the first round because of. Caleb Farley doesn't have that. The Ravens, according to Jeff Zrebiec, who's covered them for forever and covers them now for The Athletic, the Ravens are not planning to play any of their established starters. That means no Lamar Jackson, no Mark Andrews, no J.K. Dobbins, none of their star players, and probably most of their older than 2 years in the league starters are out. Maybe a rookie will play here or there. They drafted Tyler Linderbaum. He's out with an injury. So the reality is, if Traylon Burks is going to play, and this is a Traylon Burks who, if this were a regular season game against the Ravens, would be going up against Marlon Humphrey tonight, well, then Traylon Burks against second and third string DBs needs to go out there and look like he's ready to play against those guys. Mike Vrabel doesn't need to see Treylon Burks play so well tonight that he knows, take the best corner in the league, Jalen Ramsey, and Treylon Burks will be fine against him. That's not what Vrabel needs to see tonight. Vrabel needs to see, can Treylon Burks go out there and dominate against the weaker DBs who may not even have a spot in this league? They need the same thing out of Caleb Farley. A team cannot consistently swing and miss in the first round. And I don't know how the Titans have done it. I don't know how they've found a way to take a marginal player that doesn't develop into anything special like a Rashaan Evans, or an average player that had a good, not even a great season, not even a 1,000-yard season in their walk year like Corey Davis, and still happen to have a winning season every year. But the Titans need to start hitting on their first-round picks. They need to start getting production out of their first-round picks. And the reality is they're counting on it. They do not have another starter at wide receiver opposite Robert Woods. It's Treylon Burks. I know. The team's unofficial depth chart had Nick Westbrook-Akina listed as a starter ahead of Burks. I know Field Yates and who was it, NFL.com? I heard Joe complaining about this morning. NFL.com's complaining about Treylon Burks, and, oh, no, he's on the second team.
They're just running with that story still, huh?
I guess they are. I mean, I think it was NFL.com. Oh, no, he's with the second team. He's with the third. Treylon Burks is starting this year. Trust me. They don't have another option. It's not free agency where there's going to be a bunch of wide receivers the Titans can go pluck tomorrow if they realize Treylon Burks isn't ready to start in the NFL. They're in real trouble. So they need Treylon Burks to look like a first-round talent today, just like Treylon Burks looked like a first-round talent in his first practice at training camp. They need Caleb Farley to look like a really, really solid corner. They can go opposite Christian Fulton. They can allow Roger McCreary to battle it out with Elijah Molden in the slot. They can allow Chris Jackson, a guy who has been a solid player for the Titans and is a solid rotational corner, to be just that, and not somebody that has to start on an island next season. They want to see Dylan Radins or Nicholas Petit-Ferrer run away with the tackle job, but they don't necessarily need it right now. But they need those two to show up tonight. Again, there's a big difference with everything in life between a want and a need. Tell me this. What do the Titans do at wide receiver if Treylon Burks isn't their guy? So, again, this is why I think the preseason matters. All the other stuff, there are going to be positional battles all throughout training camp, and guys that maybe make the team. By my count, I have 41 people who've already made the team. So there's 53 spots. I got 41 people who've already made the team. That leaves 12 spots open. And then there are guys who are most likely going to make the team, like Torrey Carter, the fullback. But then there's guys with outside chances. And right now, Farley's making the team. Burks is making the team. And those guys have got to show that they can play at this level and dominate against the bad players. Because I'll tell you a story of Chris Johnson. When I was, heading to college, and I went to the first Titans preseason game in 2008. The Titans played the Rams. And the Titans had drafted Chris Johnson in the first round. And I remember when they drafted him because I was playing a high school baseball game. We had a doubleheader on a Saturday. This is when the draft started on a Saturday. We were playing a doubleheader. And I remember being on the bus when somebody, and this was right at the beginning of the iPhone era, but most of us had regular cell phones that got the internet. And somebody said, whether it was a call or a text or looking it up online, that the Titans had drafted Chris Johnson, this running back from East Carolina, who had an unbelievable 40 time in the first round. And I thought it was crazy of the Titans to do that. They had Lindale White, a 1,000-yard running back already on the team. They had drafted Chris Henry, who would be known as one of Jeff Fisher's biggest busts ever, in the second round. Why do they draft running back? I think it might have been his first carry in a preseason game against the Rams in 2008. Chris Johnson took the ball up the middle, ran 70 yards for a touchdown. That's why I need to see out of Treylon Burks or Caleb Farley if they're going to be that kind of player. Because the reality of the situation for those guys is they're going to play against good players. Week 2 at Buffalo, Caleb Farley might be matched up on Stephon Diggs. He's not going to be facing Stephon Diggs tonight, so he needs to dominate the guy he's going against tonight, who's probably Devin Duvernay, a third stringer who might not even make the team. He needs to dominate that guy to give Mike Vrabel faith that when it is Stephon Diggs or when it is Devontae Adams against the Raiders in the first month of the season or it is Michael Pittman Jr. against the Colts, that Caleb Farley will be just fine. Same with Treylon Burks. Treylon Burks is all about talent. Remember, in Arkansas, Treylon Burks dominated the SEC, and that's the highest level of competition in college football. Well, these guys that they're playing against today, some of them are from the SEC, but most of them are not as good as the corners from Alabama and LSU and the guys like Christian Fulton who won't be playing tonight. So Treylon Burks needs to dominate them. And unlike the Malik Willis thing, which is almost an added luxury, if Malik proves that he's the guy long-term for the Titans, that's great. That's a big deal. That's awesome. But they don't necessarily need it now. Burks and Farley, they need now. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025, TV at the top of next hour. Coming up next, though, the Titans tipped their hand to me in practice a couple of days ago about who we're going to see on the field and who we're not going to see on the field tonight. We'll get to that coming up next. Stillman and Company right here, 615-737-1025. And we are delivering Nashville's best coverage of training camp, presented by USA Hemp Store and Parman Energy, your one-stop petroleum solution. Stillman and Company, 1025-1063 The Game.
Hey, Preds fans.
Running across to make the save is Cerro.
You can now hear Nashville's best sports talk.
The backhander, he scores!
And every Predators game on 106.3 FM.
Oh, that was a thing of beauty.
From downtown Nashville to Rutherford and Williamson counties.
Duchesne with the overtime winner.
Catch all the action on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Nothing makes one feel better than the ability to give to someone in need. You have the power to give the most important gift of all, the gift of life, with a donation of your blood. Supplies are desperately low in our area, and your help is needed. Blood Assurance is a nonprofit community blood center that supplies our Middle Tennessee area hospitals. Please find it in your heart to donate. Be someone's hero today. Go to bloodassurance.org to find a location or blood drive near you. That's bloodassurance.org. Give blood, give local, save lives with Blood Assurance.
Don't be surprised this week to see other jewelry store owners shopping at Genesis Diamonds. They'll be taking advantage of Genesis' most aggressive offer ever. All GIA diamond engagement rings marked down an extra 20% below Genesis' everyday price.
That's right. The vault is open, and we're selling the finest handcrafted diamond rings at rock bottom prices. Now for a very limited time.
The GIA is the world standard in diamond grading, certifying accuracy and documenting quality, so you can buy with confidence.
Every Genesis engagement ring is included in this event, from a half carat up to 20 carat stones, all shapes, rounds, princess cuts, emerald cuts, cushion cuts, ovals.
There has never been a better time to get an extreme value price on a GIA certified diamond, perfectly set in a gorgeous engagement ring. Hurry in for best selection. It's Genesis Diamonds GIA Diamond Extravaganza.
Save an extra 20% on these rare, precious diamond rings, now for a limited time. One per customer, please.
Exclusively at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
This is your PBR Minute. Hi, I'm Chase McCabe. Get your tickets to Nashville Stampede Days, August 19th through the 21st at Bridgestone Arena. Just go to Ticketmaster.com. The Nashville Stampede have one more road trip before coming home to Nashville. This week they'll be in Anaheim, California, and head coach Justin McBride is excited to get someone back in the lineup.
Manuelito De Souza Jr. is a guy that we drafted fairly high and is a guy that we haven't had access to so far this season. So I'm really anxious to see how he steps into the lineup. I feel like with him in there, we've got a chance to ride all five of our Bulls in our first game. Taiki Pacheco, who was our number 1 draft pick, has just been riding lights out, doing really good. And I think between him and Manuelito, it's really going to be the spark that lights the rest of the team up.
Again, they'll have 2 games this weekend in Anaheim before returning to Nashville August 19th through the 21st at Bridgestone Arena. Get your tickets at Ticketmaster.com. I'm Chase McCabe.
When looking for quality recreational sports in Nashville, look no further than Mid-State Sports. With over 25,000 participants, they're one of the largest sports organizations in the Southeast. Fall registration is now open for youth soccer for boys and girls aged 3 to 13. Registration is also open for adult sports like softball, sand volleyball, soccer, flag football, kickball, and basketball. For a full list of youth and adult sports leagues, check out midstatesports.com.
Saturday night.
And there he goes. Tony Pollard. Jets are on. Touchdown, Dallas.
America's team heads to the Mile High City as the Cowboys take on the Broncos in NFL preseason action.
Touchdown. Diving catch. Cortland Sutton.
Coverage begins at 7:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Nashville, this is Paul Feinbaum, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
There's something to be said for the phrase gamer. Can you see something from guys in-game action that you maybe can't out here?
I mean, we think practice is important. I think the ability to come out here and focus and perform in the way that we want to practice, I think is critical and important. I'm not going to say that, we want a whole lot of gamers. We want guys that are prepared and ready to go and that can execute. And maybe some guys, level of play will increase. They'll be a better tackler because we don't tackle much. Or you say, well, I didn't really see that from them in practice. But I don't know about gamer.
There you go. That's Mike Vrabel. Boy, he seemed really excited to answer that question. Which, look, I get what Steve Lehman's asking, and I don't think Steve Lehman's wrong. Some guys just play better when the lights come on, and sometimes coaches have to take that into account. But I can't imagine Mike Vrabel ever being okay with someone being a good game player and not a good practice player. So the Titans put out on Instagram images of the team boarding the plane going to Baltimore. That is one of the many ways it's going to give us hints as to who's going to play tonight. I know this. I know Malik Willis is going to play a lot tonight. I believe Logan Woodside will also play a lot tonight. Here's who I know is in. I know that Caleb Farley is in tonight. Traylon Burks is in tonight. Chig Okonkwo is in tonight. And Chig's going to play a lot this season. We'll get to him in a second. Julius Chestnut, the running back, is going to get a lot of carries tonight. One interesting nugget. Last week on last Tuesday, the Titans had an 11-on-11 period on the far field in which I believe it was full-on tackling. This was the second day that they had the pads on, the sixth practice, and it was about a 24, 28-minute period where it was full-on 11-on-11. Basically, it was real football, and all the coaches were over there. The star players, Tannehill, Simmons, Byard, Henry, Lewan, they were not. And so I took note of who those people were, because as I turned over to some of the people that were watching practice, I said to them, I think that's the Baltimore crew. And so I looked at my notes for who made plays in those scenarios. Malik Willis, Logan Woodside played quarterback. The running backs that touched the football, and again, this is tackle. This is real. A week ago, Dontrell Hilliard, Trenton Cannon, Julius Chestnut, Hassan Haskins, and Jordan Wilkins, a.k.a. everybody except for Derrick Henry. The wide receivers, Traylon Burks played. Racey McMath, who has had an excellent camp and I think is a lock to make the team. Terry Godwin, Josh Malone, Reggie Roberson. Caleb Farley played defense. And on top of that, so I believe all those guys are going to play tonight. On top of that, I have heard that Farley and Burks are going to play a lot tonight. And the Titans featured them in their Instagram post, getting on the plane going to Baltimore. The surprise for me was to see Christian Fulton, both in the Baltimore crew practice and getting on the plane going to Baltimore. So a week ago on Tuesday, Fulton was out there, an established starter on an NFL team that had the best record in the AFC last year. Christian Fulton was out on the practice field with Chigga Okonkwo and Mason Kinsey and Terry Godwin and guys you're going to learn up for the first time tonight. And he's on the plane going to Baltimore. That makes me think he's going to play. Here's who's not going to play, in my opinion, tonight. Ryan Tannehill is out tonight. Derrick Henry is out tonight. Robert Woods is out tonight. I believe Nick Westbrook-Akina will be out tonight, which means Traylon Burks, Racey McMath, Kyle Phillips, Des Fitzpatrick, those guys all play. Austin Hooper and Jeff Swaim I don't think will play tonight, but Chigga Okonkwo, a rookie, will. Taylor Lewan, Ben Jones, and Nate Davis will all not play tonight, in my opinion. I would be surprised, although not shocked, if Aaron Brewer played tonight, because I feel like Aaron Brewer has locked up that left guard spot. The right tackles will play. John Robinson over the weekend said it'd be nice to get those guys in a game, which means they're going to play. Jeffrey Simmons, Danico Autry, Bud Dupree, Harold Landry all will not play. Ola Adeni was actually on the trip to Baltimore, which makes me think that he might play. I would assume that Rashard Weaver will play as well. Zach Cunningham, David Long Jr., not going to play. Kevin Byard, Amani Hooker, not going to play. And let me just get this out there from what I've heard. I've heard we got a real battle at the punting position. I'll believe it when I see it. Paul Kaharski a week and a half ago wrote an article about how Ryan Stonehouse could be angling for the punting job from Brett Kern, and that Brett Kern didn't hit the ball as well before, and Brett Kern has changed his diet, and Brett Kern has changed his kicking routines, and that Brett Kern, I will believe it when I see it, that Brett Kern gets beat out by Kyle Stonehouse.
I have thought about that if we would learn anything about special teams at all during these preseason games.
So I do wonder who's going to be returning the kicks for the Titans today. But I believe Trenton Cannon, who's going to return kickoffs, or Dontrell Hilliard, will probably be. Hilliard had a non-contact jersey on this week, so he might be hurt. But I'm going to guess Trenton Cannon will return kicks. Well, he's going to play in this preseason game anyways. Kyle Phillips, I would assume, is going to start off returning punts, but I don't know that for a fact. But he's going to be out there. But apparently there is a battle at the punting position between Stonehouse and Kern. Again, when I put together who's made the team, how many locks I have, I put Kern down as a lock. Either way, it doesn't matter because they will reserve a roster spot for a punter. But apparently I was just told, hey, keep an eye on this punting battle because this could actually be something real. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, and our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Who is excited for the preseason? I am. Neil texts into the text line and says, Farley is going to hurt himself in the preseason. Let me say this. Does it matter when he gets hurt if he always gets hurt? Some of these guys can never stay healthy. Tyrone Calico, who the Titans took in the second round about 20 years ago. Tyrone Calico had all the talent in the world. He was a huge, long, lean target. He was an athletic wide receiver right out of MTSU. Calico, as a rookie, was unstoppable. In an offense that had Drew Bennett and Justin McCarrons to supplement Derek, who was the number one receiver of that team, Calico was the fourth guy, and he was a weapon with his size. And he just kept getting hurt. And it was always one thing or another thing, and he could just never stay on the field. And so Farley, I'll be honest, when they drafted Farley in the first round and Chris Sanders lost his marbles when we were doing the draft show, I remember the next day hosting and saying, hey, John Robinson is taking a risk that I'm not willing to take. When it comes to money, I'm willing to risk in real estate, the stock market. I'm not doing the cryptocurrency thing. And I had friends, keyword had. I had friends, and they still are my friends. I had friends who were, cryptocurrency is the new thing. And I said, hey, man, you can invest your life savings in crypto. I'm not interested in that. And that's how I felt when they drafted Farley with all those back injuries. And then he got hurt with an ACL. And some guys, it's a knee, it's a back, it's a shoulder, it's a hand, it's a Jake Locker or a Mariota. So if Fulton's going to get, or if Farley's going to get hurt, might as well get hurt tonight if he's just going to get hurt anyways. And it's important for Farley to show that he can make it through. And I don't think he's going to play a whole game or anything, but I think it's important for Farley to show us that he can make it through and still be a part of what they're doing and stay healthy and get back on the practice field. See, this is why I'm glad Caroline reads the text messages. This is not me. Someone's like, Devin Duvernay is not a corner. Right. When I said he's a wide receiver. When I said who Caleb Farley's going to be going up against. Caleb Farley plays corner. Go up against wide receiver. Somebody texts in and says, tonight, what is the key for the Titans for fans who don't know much about this team? And I would just say this. Probably Willis. Got into the argument yesterday with Joe about all that. Joe was saying, Willis is the most important thing. Willis isn't the most important thing for the 2022 Titans. That's Burks, it's Farley, right tackle, because against the Giants in a month, literally 1 month to today, those guys will be on the football field, whereas Malik Willis absolutely will not be against the Giants. But Willis is probably the thing that the fans are going to talk about the most, the things that the fans are probably the most interested about. And look, I'd be lying to you if I said that I wasn't interested to see what Malik Willis looks like when he doesn't have the constraints of practice on him. It's weird because college football is so different from the NFL. In college football, a quarterback like Malik Willis can look over to the sideline, line everybody up, clap his hands once, then turn over, look at the sideline, and they'll hold up 5 poster boards, and no one's supposed to know which poster board is the one Malik's looking at. Malik then sees Rattlesnake, and he knows what the play is, and then he tells everybody Rattlesnake, and then they all know the play, and that's what happens. That's not how the NFL works. And so they've been working with Malik on kind of telling him how to do this, how to run an NFL huddle, how to run an NFL offense. And the Titans, to their credit, they say they have been pleased as far as Malik is concerned. But there is a constraint of practice, which is, hey, it's 7-on-7, and we want you to look for this. Or, hey, we're working on third down defense on this play, so we want you to do this. And it's different when it's just a game. When Malik's out there, first down, second down, third down, he can run. Doesn't matter if he's not doing what he's supposed to do, runs away, gets away from a guy. Then it's just a game. And I do wonder what Malik's going to look like as opposed to practice where, hey, we're working on first down and second down today, and first down, second down, third down, punt. 615-737-1025. We'll get to your phones about tonight, 615-737-1025. Plus, Joe Rexrode had another meltdown about Tannehill this morning when I was on. It was awesome. We'll get to that coming up next. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Those are my guys. They do a fantastic job. Hiller was at my house today. Had a brand new ceiling fan installed. I just constantly was always having to go cut the AC down before I would go to sleep because under the covers I'd get hot, but then when I'd be walking around in my house, it'd be freezing cold. So finally, I bought a ceiling fan. You all know me. I am not somebody out there who is going to be able to install a ceiling fan at their house. And I'm sure there are people that do this for a living that are listening to me talk, and they think that I am absolutely, positively helpless. And that is true. And many of you are like me. And that's why I have my friends at Hiller, because all I did was put the box right there where the ceiling fan was supposed to go. Next thing I know, an hour later, the job was done perfectly. It was all taken care of. Ron came out, did a great job I love my friends at Hiller. And they've got great offers as well for back to school. So visit happyhiller.com for all of those details, whether it's getting a free Yeti Tundra cooler or a free Traegerwood pellet grill. There are ways to be able to do that. And they've got HVAC replacement specials like 0% interest financing for up to 12 months on select new systems. That's right. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. My guys, call the Happy Face Truck today.
The Sports Talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezovic every Saturday morning at 9.
I've got my extra large coffee.
As she talks about the big stories of the week.
Predators news, the Tennessee Titans.
And looks ahead to the weekend.
Oh, I'm so excited.
On Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center, On Fox 17 Code Red, meteorologist Greg Bobis. High temperatures today climbing into the upper 80s, just shy of 90 degrees. Still some humidity out there we're going to feel throughout the day, and isolated showers and storms in the forecast, mainly south of I-40 this afternoon through the evening.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Harmon Energy is your one-stop petroleum solution across all of Tennessee, offering turnkey petroleum solutions for professionals in major industries, serving trucking fleets, construction companies, industrial plants, and more. Whether a large corporation or owner-operator, Harmon Energy has your diesel fuel, lubricant, DEF, and equipment needs. No matter how you're getting there, start with Harmon. Visit HarmonEnergy.com for more info. Your Tennessee petroleum solution, providing totally outrageous customer service.
It's a fact. Guys hate going to the doctor. But when it comes to erectile dysfunction and low testosterone issues, men from all over Middle Tennessee have been thrilled seeing Dr. Alderson and the providers at the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Men all the way up to 95 years old have jump-started their sex drive and energy levels. Lots of men suffer with ED for years, but now they're able to enjoy sex again. Tom from Nashville said, "The Tennessee Men's Clinic has changed my life. I have been able to be intimate with my wife for the first time in 5 years. She thought this problem was because of her, but the pills never worked for me. I had given up until I went to the clinic and realized there were more options for erectile dysfunction. Now I'm happy and my wife is happy. A visit for only $99, and that includes all testing, including a PSA and testosterone test. Give the guys at the clinic a call at 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090. Or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments, extra, results vary.
I'm Cindy Mae Johnson from Mountaintop Media in the beautiful Appalachian Mountains of eastern Kentucky, where flash floods have taken lives and destroyed homes. The news can never accurately convey how much help is needed. If you're willing or able to help, even a little, please donate to the East Kentucky Dream Center on Venmo or at ekdc.info. Thank you for your prayers and support.
Robbie Stanley.
To avoid non-contact injuries and not repeat last year.
Joe Rexrode.
Just wait until next year's national TV schedule comes out.
Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Again, you're talking about training camp throws. You made this huge deal out of, you had a terrible camp. Go back and just watch. I mean, I'm sure they're not available. I hope not. But maybe you can ask someone in the Titans, organization to give you some video from like whatever training camp practice you wanted to last year. And I promise you, even on a day where he threw a pick, I promise you will find countless throws from Ryan Tannehill that look exactly like the throws he's throwing now and exactly like the throws he threw in the camp before that. I mean, it's training camp, Jared.
That is a cable news level take from you. There you go. That was this morning. Joe Rexrode. I guess I'll be on 7 o'clock every Thursday morning on Robbie and Rexrode going forward.
Early wake-up call there, huh?
Yeah, it's fine. And so I'm on Robbie and Rexrode this morning. And Joe's the only person in the world who doesn't think that Ryan Tannehill looks different in training camp. In fact, Jeremy Fowler, just like Dan Graziano, did a training camp tour and came and saw the Titans, and it's on ESPN.com. And just like Dan Graziano's, he talked about Tannehill. It just looks different. Like the way he is operating just looks different. And here's Joe now giving me an impossible burden of proof of go get the training camp tape from the Titans from last year and tell me how Tannehill is different. Let me explain something about the Tennessee Titans. I would literally have to get Roger Goodell to allow me to watch last year's training camp footage. If I texted John Robinson today and said, hey, JR, working on something over here, can I watch last year's practice tape? He would not text back. Or if he did, he would say, hell no. So now Joe, who is so hell-bent on something everybody else believes and is so convinced. Because last year we played the cut when he asked Tannehill about his interceptions in training camp, and he was like, you're just trying to force things, right? Like, he already had his mind made up then. That now he is requiring that I watch the practice tape of Ryan Tannehill last year and then have an opinion. That makes no sense. And it's also impossible because the Titans would never let me watch that tape. If I had a signed letter from Amy Adams Strunk, if I went up to John and I was like, hey, I got this signed letter from Amy Adams Strunk saying that I can watch last year's practice tape, John would then go up to Amy's office and make sure that it was 100% actually her signature. They're not going to let me do that. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. Nate up next on Malik Willis. Thank you for calling. Thank you for waiting. Go ahead, Nate.
This is a short two-parter. Malik Willis, what would be considered a successful first preseason game in your eyes, Jared? And what would be successful first preseason game in the organization's eyes?
So I have no idea. I can't speak for the organization. I have no idea what they think would be positive steps for Malik Willis. But, and I appreciate your call, Nate, John Robinson, we did play the cut yesterday where John Robinson talked about how they want Malik Willis to get better with his timing. There was a big worry that Malik Willis couldn't operate the huddle of the NFL right away because he didn't really do that in college, and he didn't put his hands under center, and he has struggled with the center-quarterback exchange so far in training camp. So he's at least kind of checked off some of those boxes for them. Timing seems to be a problem that Robinson's referenced a couple times, that it just takes time, more practice reps to get better. So I'm sure they'd like to see that be better tonight in the preseason game. For me, I just want to see Malik Willis not get himself killed or anybody else killed. I think about my own radio career, and I think about what Floyd used to tell me about quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, Malik was not a first-round pick. But Floyd used to always tell me that a quarterback was a 4 or 5 year plan, which was year one, they just had to not get annihilated out on the football field. And this is for rookies that were in the first round that are going to start. The first year, just tread the water. The second year, the quarterback will start to understand the offense. The third year, the quarterback will start to be able to read the defense and figure out what the defense is trying to do to the quarterback. The fourth and fifth year is when the quarterback needs to master that. That's why Josh Allen, for instance, really became an elite quarterback his third year in the league. Josh Allen was not a bus driver his first year. And his second year, they made the playoffs, and he still wasn't even that good. So with Willis, he's going to be playing with receivers who are going to play this year. McMath, Phillips, Okonkwo at tight end, Burks. Just don't get any of those guys killed. Don't throw the ball so far behind a guy that a Ravens defensive back comes in and takes somebody out. That is going to be my standard of success. Will is up next on Malik Willis and Logan Woodside. Thank you for calling the program. Go ahead, Will.
Hey, what's up, Jared? Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I also had a little Malik Willis question. So it's pretty obvious that Woodside's going to be the 2 for this year. So this preseason, are you thinking like Woodside runs first half or maybe first quarter, and then it's Willis' show the rest of the time? And also, do you think the genius Todd Downing is actually going to dial up some plays, or is it going to be a pretty conservative layout plan for Malik Willis this preseason? I'll hang up. Thank you.
I appreciate your call, Will. I mean, as far as doing anything exotic, that will never happen in the preseason. No team will put something on tape that they actually want to use in the regular season. So that'll never happen as far as Downing is concerned. And especially with Malik, I think they want Malik to just get to the basics and do the basics correctly and go from there. Here's something that I find to be fascinating about what Vrabel does to the caller's question about the quarterback situation. Because while I would agree with the premise that Tannehill is the 1, Woodside is the 2, and Willis is the 3, and that if the Giants game was today, Malik would be inactive, and that maybe Malik, the plan will be essentially to redshirt him no matter what, I do wonder how Mike Vrabel will approach this in the preseason. And I will say it like this. Malik Willis, eventually the hope would be that he's going to be a starter. That's why they drafted him in the 3rd round. The raw talent for him to be a starter does exist. It's just a far ways away. Well, if you're the Titans, would you want him to prepare like he's a starter? They know what Logan can do. Logan has gotten plenty of preseason reps in his life. Logan has started games in the AAF before, which is pro football, which is better than anything Malik's done. Logan has started preseason games for the Titans. They know what Logan can do in the preseason. They know what Logan knows. They know how Logan operates. They know all of that. So I do wonder how much they're going to play Malik, and if they would look at Malik and say, hey, we want you to feel comfortable, whereas the only time Logan Woodside's ever going to play a game now or in the future is coming in relief of Tannehill. So I don't know. My guess is tonight you'll see a lot of Malik. That's my guess. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, and you'll probably see Woodside too. But I think tonight is going to be a Malik night. And I think that 3rd preseason game is going to be all about Malik too. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We will get back into your phones. But TD is up next from Baltimore. He is getting ready for the game tonight. The TD Power Hour is coming up next. Stillman & Company right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
You watch the game.
Line to left, coming on Newstrom. Base hit, Sounds win.
We talk the game.
But they knew he'd be really good. Well, if they don't make that move, they don't win those championships.
We are the game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Winning this award is truly like winning the Super Bowl of car dealer awards for Mercedes-Benz.
Edwin Vickery, General Manager of Mercedes-Benz of Music City.
Culture, eat strategy for lunch. You have to hit on all cylinders to win this award. You can strategize all you want. You got to still have the right tools, and our tools are our people.
Live the dream with 3-time Mercedes-Benz Best of the Best award winner, Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Go to mbofmc.com.
Are you sick and tired of constant pain in your knees, hips, or back? Especially this time of the year. You need to be moving pain-free, right? Hey, Willie Donick here for the team at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is helping people every day, giving them lasting pain relief using the latest advances in regenerative medicine. The science is simple. They concentrate your own body's healing agents and apply them to your aching joints, restoring and repairing the damaged tissue. No drugs, no steroids, no surgery. The old remedies for pain are not the only remedies. You need to learn more about how regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics can change your life. Make this the last summer you suffer from chronic pain. They've got clinics here and all over America. This is the exciting new, natural way to deal with joint pain. No side effects, no downtime. So call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a hard fly ball.
We got pass rushers.
Awesome game.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. It is game day, Titans and Ravens tonight. Teron Davenport is with us for the TD Power Hour from Baltimore. TD, good to hear you. How are you today?
I'm doing really well. How are you guys?
Just absolutely outstanding. So I want to start right away with this, which is your opening thoughts on tonight's game, the first preseason game. I know there are some people out there that say, it's a preseason. Your thoughts on the preseason game with the Titans and what they want to get accomplished tonight.
Well, I think really what they want to get accomplished is getting a look at these guys in live game action. That's the most important thing for them. The bullets are going to be flying, so to speak, so they want to see how that's going to work. You look at the rookies especially, Malik Willis, Traylon Burks, and these guys, Kyle Phillips, Chig Okonkwo, Roger McCreary. Those are all the big names that they'll be looking, but there's other guys as well. It's just one of those things where sometimes when the lights come on and the games are ready to be played, that is when guys come to life. So I think that's what Coach Vrabel and the staff will be looking for.
So let's start with this. Let's start with Burks and Farley. Because of all the rookies that are going to play, Phillips will have a role, McCreary will have a role, Okonkwo will have a role, but those two are going to have huge roles on the team this year. What do you think Mike Vrabel's expectation for them is, knowing that they're going to be playing guys with a Baltimore team that has good players and has won 19 straight preseason games? It's almost an NFL record the Ravens have won. But that it's not going to be, for instance, it's not going to be Marlon Humphrey out there against Traylon Burks, and it's not going to be, would have been Hollywood Brown last year. Rashad Bateman this year, I would assume, is not going to be covered by Caleb Farley. What do you think Vrabel wants to see out of those two tonight?
I think he wants to see them connect. He wants to see everything processed for Willis. That's the thing that they've been working on, putting him in 2-minute situations and low red zone situations, looking at how he is going to be able to speed up the process, work through his reads, and get the ball to the right guy. It's really important for him to get that ball out on time and with anticipation. And he's told me that the key to doing that is having his lower body match his ability to process. And once his feet could help take him where his eyes need to go, that is when you're going to see success. As for Burks, really they're looking for someone that could go out there and make big plays. I know they're going to put him in situations to, get those contested catches, which is something he's done in practice. So we'll see all of that come to light.
What do you make of Farley? Because he's going to play tonight, and I believe that Farley, John Robinson was asked about Farley, said he's done some good things and needs some more plays, and kind of a way of saying he's done some good things, he's done some bad things, and I would kind of agree with that. But Farley, the health, it's obviously a concern. This is real football. It's not going to be controlled for him. What do you think the Titans hope to get out of playing Caleb Farley tonight?
Yeah, I think the main thing with him is to get reps. They want him to get more opportunities to play the cornerback position. We have to remember he's played a total of, 26 games at cornerback since 2018. So this is relatively new to him because we're talking about 2 years at Virginia Tech. So I think what they want to see is him be able to stay in phase, him be able to break down and make plays against not just the deep routes, but those routes where they throttle down and they work their way back to the quarterback on curls and comebacks. That's something that typically gives longer corners like Farley trouble, and he has to show that he's able to, break down and accelerate out of his break to get the PBU.
Do you have an expectation for how much Burks and Farley
Burks, I think, is going to get extended time because I would imagine they want to get as many reps with him as possible. I know it's pretty warm in Baltimore. It's about 90 degrees. So You have the situation where he could overheat a bit, or you have the asthma. He's in a different environment, so you have to monitor that. But I could see him getting a couple quarters of play.
Which rookie that has looked good in camp are you thinking to yourself, I need to see this guy in a preseason game? Let's take Malik out of it because we'll get to him in a little bit. But you've seen him in camp, and you say, I want to see this guy in a game-like setting.
Yeah, it's Kyle Phillips. I want to see him in a game setting. I want to see how he's able to match up, and continue to win the way that he has. And he's been somebody that, they've had a really tough job covering him. So that's what I want to see.
When you look at a guy like Phillips, and we know that he will play this year, I think he's already made the team, but he will play this year on offense and I think have a real role. But that will be with Tannehill, and that will be the precise things that Tannehill does. We know that Malik right now, timing's an issue with him. The slot position is all about timing. I mean, to be honest with you, TD, I think timing might be an issue for Logan Woodside too. It's just maybe not people care as much about Logan Woodside as they do Malik. How much of what Phillips does is going to be harder for him to be able to do with these two quarterbacks tonight?
I mean, I don't think it's going to be hard because he's worked with them. Mm-hmm. He's gotten work with all three quarterbacks. So I think that's going to be fine for Phillips. And the main thing, and for Burks as well, he's worked with all three quarterbacks, and they've done that wisely, to get them reps with the starter, but also get them used to working with the guys that they're going to primarily break their teeth, cut their teeth with in these preseason games. So I don't see that being an issue. I think they're going to be fine.
What do you think about Christian Fulton? Because about 8 days ago, they had a practice where they spent about 25 minutes going 11 on 11 with pads on, and it was a bunch of guys that we would consider backups, along with Fulton, Farley, and Burks. And now the Titans on Instagram yesterday put out the pictures of the guys boarding the plane heading to Baltimore, and Christian Fulton was included with the group headed there. Could we see Christian Fulton headed to Baltimore? Is it a good idea to play Christian Fulton tonight? I mean, we know what Christian Fulton is, TD.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll get a couple series. It's not a bad idea. It's never a bad idea to let a guy play football. So I don't think, well, unless he's, fresh coming off an injury.
Or Derrick Henry.
Yeah, well, Derrick Henry is that's a unique situation. But I do think that it's not an issue. I know he'll play a couple series from what I've been told. So, that'll give him an opportunity to get out there, just kind of get moving around again, and also be in a live setting. And maybe get a chance to run with some receivers down the field, which is something we know, he's gotten to do a lot against Racey McMath and Treylon Burks and Nick Westbrook-Ikhine.
Do you think that playing Fulton is because there's something that they want to see out of him or that they want to push him to be able to do? Or do you think it could be in part because Farley's going to play, so play them together because that's the expectation that they're going to play together in the regular season?
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of just getting him some work, man. That's really what they're doing, just getting him some work. I don't, get too far into, they want to get him used to this or used to that. It's just get him some work and get him out there.
What do you make of what the Ravens will put out on the field today? Obviously, Lamar Jackson's not going to play, and Calais Campbell's not going to play, and all the main Ravens players aren't going to play. But they've won 19 straight preseason games. I believe they can set a record tonight if they win the 20th preseason game in a row. Which, talk about the most unimportant stat in the history of the NFL. This might be one of them. But what do you make of the quality of opponent that we will see, guys? Because you and I were talking about this earlier today. There's probably, 20 people battling for about 13 or 14 spots on this roster. What do you think we'll see in the quality of opponent today for the Titans?
Yeah, I think it's tough. I mean, James Prochet is a pretty solid receiver. I think the tight ends, Isaiah Likely and Charlie Kolar, those guys have stood out. So you get to see that. I would imagine Kyle Hamilton on defense will be out there. They have some players that I think will challenge whoever is on the field for the Titans. So when you look at the offense itself, you know, his name slips my mind. Tyler Huntley, he's a solid quarterback. So the defense is going to get a look, and they'll get an opportunity to see a guy that could kind of move around and make some things happen. So that'll help, you know, them for what they're going to see during the season, you know, with the Russell Wilsons and those types.
What do you make of the fact, because you know Harbaugh, and he's won 19 preseason games in a row. I don't think that that's an accident. Is there something about the way that they teach fundamentals, or that they build the roster at the bottom, or that they play guys more in the preseason than other teams, or something that has made the Ravens so solid in the preseason?
Yeah, I can't call that. I don't know what it is, man, but they've definitely been solid, and it's like I said, it's 20 in a row. So something is going right. I don't know what it is. Maybe
how do you win 20 preseason games in a row?
Well, I tell you what, if I knew that, I probably would be on one of these staffs instead of on the phone talking to you.
Or on the betting apps, firing them up.
Yeah, one or the other. Something more lucrative.
Malik Willis will get the ball tonight, some level or another, starting in relief of Logan. Who knows? We know Tannehill's not playing. What does TD want to see from Malik Willis? What should the expectation be from Malik Willis? What would be a successful night for the Titans with Malik Willis? We'll get to that next with TD coming up at the TD Power Hour. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 2:45.
Sanders for the touchdown, 48 yards.
Former NFL wide receiver Chris Sanders joins Stillman and Company to give his thoughts on all things Titans and NFL. Fueled by Parman Energy, now hiring fuel drivers. Apply now at ParmanEnergy.com on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
If you speed, there are lots of sounds that you might hear, like the sound of your vehicle crashing, because eventually speeding catches up with you. Paid for by NHTSA.
Don't be surprised this week to see other jewelry store owners shopping at Genesis Diamonds. They'll be taking advantage of Genesis' most aggressive offer ever. All GIA diamond engagement rings marked down an extra 20% below Genesis' everyday price.
That's right. The vault is open, and we're selling the finest handcrafted diamond rings at rock bottom prices. Now for a very limited time.
The GIA is the world standard in diamond grading, certifying accuracy and documenting quality, so you can buy with confidence.
Every Genesis engagement ring is included in this event, from a half carat up to 20 carat stones, all shapes, rounds, princess cuts, emerald cuts, cushion cuts, ovals.
There has never been a better time to get an extreme value price on a GIA certified diamond, perfectly set in a gorgeous engagement ring. Hurry in for best selection. It's Genesis Diamonds GIA Diamond Extravaganza.
Save an extra 20% on these rare, precious diamond rings, now for a limited time. One per customer, please.
Exclusively at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
Hey, it's Jared. Have you ever had a room that just won't cool down like the rest of your home? My room upstairs where I've got all the TVs always felt uncomfortable in the summer, but this year I put in a ductless mini splint from Mitsubishi Electric. This ductless style heating and cooling system allows me to set a temperature for just that part of the house, and I didn't have to remodel or install any ductwork to put it in. My friends at Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical are experts at installing these systems. You can book your appointment in minutes online, like I do with my phone, and their techs will make sure that your new system is installed exactly how it was designed. Hiller techs are background and drug screened, and their work is backed by the Happy You'll Be Your Services Free 100% satisfaction guarantee. If your home isn't keeping your family cool, you need to call Hiller and upgrade to a Mitsubishi Electric Zone Comfort System. This month only, take $1,200 off qualifying Mitsubishi Electric ductless mini splint HVAC systems. Visit happyhiller.com today to learn more.
Cutting the price of your wireless bill feels good, really good. Actually, it feels great. You should try it out. So cut your bill by switching to Straight Talk Wireless, now offering our $45 Silver Unlimited plan with 5 gigabytes of hotspot and nationwide 5G on America's largest, most dependable networks. The $45 Silver Unlimited plan from Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
A month equals 30 days. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
It's on. It's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way. I'm watching the game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. You're listening listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Malik's doing some good things. He had a good spring. I think that he's articulating the play well in the huddle, which, I don't know how much he had to do a whole lot of that at Liberty with an up-tempo offense. So that's one thing that a quarterback, a lot of these up-tempo teams, when they don't have to hear a play, get in the huddle, call a play, that's new for him. And, he's done a good job of that. I think the overall decision-making that he's, kind of progressed through and the decisions that he's made have been the right ones. It's about, just a little quicker on the timing, pull the trigger a little quicker here, or, make this, go with the ball over here, just a little quicker with the decision-making process. But he's athletic. He's good with the ball in his hands. He's got a really strong arm. He's made some really good throws. I think the 7-on-7 stuff has been probably more of his, his more impressive periods, if you will.
There you go. That was John Robinson on SiriusXM's NFL radio tour. And I believe that tonight we will see a lot of Malik Willis. I believe the preseason games are for Malik Willis. John Robinson there saying, hey, he's doing a lot of good things, just got to work on the timing. Well, tonight it's for real. And it is not 7-on-7. This is for real. Malik Willis, for the first time in his NFL career, can get hit by a real NFL player. TD's with us for the TD Power Hour. TD, what is your expectation tonight from Malik Willis? We got TD? I guess we lost TD. I do wonder what his expectation for Malik Willis is tonight. I know what my expectation for Malik Willis is. Oh, we got TD? Okay. TD, what's your expectation tonight for Malik Willis?
The expectation is for him to go out there and process things quickly. And that's what they've done kind of purposely for him by putting him in that 2-minute situation, put him in low red zone. And you saw some of his ability really come to life. That left hash to the back pylon on the right side throw to Terry Godwin, the seam route to Dez Fitzpatrick before Dez made that break inside that hash mark. Those are examples of how when he puts it together and he just lets it rip and he plays, there's a lot of ability there. So I think that's what they want to see, that playmaking ability, that dynamic playmaking ability. That's what they're looking for.
What do you think they're telling him when they sit down with him tonight and he's going to make his first appearance ever in an NFL game, and all the hype that he's been through and everything else and everything that they've told him, and I'm sure they've told him 500 million things, what do you think they really are saying to him about, hey, this is what we want to see you do tonight? Is it going to be letting it rip and airing out the football? Is it going to be going through his reads? Is it going to be, show the athleticism? Is it going to be take care of the ball? If there was one thing that you thought Vrabel was going to kind of be telling Malik Willis tonight before he makes his first appearance, what do you think it would be?
Just play football. Don't let the game be bigger than it is. I think that's the main thing. Just don't get too caught up in it being, your first professional game. I think just simplify things, believe what you're seeing, and let the ball go. Those are probably the things that he'll be told.
What do you think Malik could show Titans fans that have heard about, maybe what John Robinson said right there about camp? What do you think that their expectation of what they should see out of Malik is? Like what they turn on the Malik was talked about the entire draft process. What do you think they're going to tune in and see at tonight, and what should they really be looking for when they watch Malik play?
I think just where he goes with the football, what he does with it, some of the wild throws that he's going to make, you're going to see him, push the ball down the field. You're going to see him fit it in tight windows, and just understand that it's a work in progress. Take note of the highlight plays that he shows, the throws that even if it's incomplete, take note of that. Don't get too high on that, but also don't get too low if something happens where there's a blitz and he throws it into coverage and it's picked off. This is a learning experience for him, and that's what you have to understand. And that's why, Jared, I'll tell you time and time again, it is against the law. It's a crime to say that man stinks or sucks right now because it's a work in progress.
When do you think that he'll make, or I shouldn't say when, what do you think is the opportunity that Malik could win himself in over the training camp period and really the preseason now? Do you think he could go out there? Because I'm going to guess he's going to play tonight. I'm going to guess Logan's going to play tonight. Is there any chance that Malik could find a way to compete for a backup job this season with these preseason games?
Oh, yeah, there's definitely a chance. I mean, guys could go out there and make plays that the coaching staff may not have, expected to see consistently. So, yeah, there's definitely a chance. Anytime you have the ability he has, it's an opportunity. But I think you could kind of tell when you're, like, in 2 minutes, and just throughout practice for the most part, you could tell that Logan Woodside understandably has a better grasp on the offense than Malik Willis does. So it's going to take a lot.
What do you expect out of Logan tonight? And what do you expect them to want to see from Logan? Because, this is going to sound crazy, TD, I've seen enough Logan in the preseason in my life. I know what Logan Woodside is, and I got to feel like the Titans feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, we know what Logan Woodside is. He's a guy that will facilitate the offense. You probably won't get too many throws down the field, but he's capable of doing that every so often. We've seen him do that a couple of days in camp. So I think it's just a ball control style offense. That's what you get with Logan Woodside and just, someone who's going to keep the ball out of harm's way. He's actually the one quarterback to have not thrown an interception so far in camp.
So how would you place the players tonight as far as Burks is concerned, Phillips, Okonkwo, and that group, the guys that we know are going to make the team, and then the other guys, whether it's Reggie Robertson, Josh Malone, Terry Godwin, Briley Moore at tight end, Tommy Hudson. Which guys would you have go with Malik, and which guys would you have go with Logan Woodside?
Well, I think there seems to be a connection developing between Malik Willis and Reggie Robertson, and as well as Chig Okonkwo, who they were roommates in minicamp. So I would imagine I'll keep those guys together. Woodside has consistently gone to Traylon Burks and opportunities I saw them work together. So I would do it in that kind of way. And Racey McMath, continues to be out there with both quarterbacks and Tannehill. So that's another one to put. I would just, rotate the guys. I don't think it's a matter of trying to pair them with anybody. It's just getting them out there to get work. That's what they're here to do, get work.
And what's your expectation for Vrabel tonight, how he's going to use him? I want to say last year when it was a legitimate battle between Matt Barkley and Logan Woodside, at one point he was playing Logan for 2 series and Barkley for 2 series, and then Logan would play a little bit more, and then Barkley would play a little bit more. What do you think he'll do with these two guys? Do you think it'll be you get half the game, you get half the game, or do you think he'll rotate them in and out? There's not another guy that we've never heard of like Kyle Sloter to go in there to be the fourth guy at quarterback. What would you do if you were Vrabel, and what's your expectation for Vrabel?
Yeah, I think they'll give them each a quarter, right? First quarter, second quarter, come back third quarter, fourth quarter. That's how I would think they're going to do it. But you never know. They could split the halves too. So, I mean, I haven't gotten anything as far as like how those reps are going to be split.
How would you do it?
Honestly, I would start Willis. I want the rookie to get out there right from the start, and I want to see him not sit back and come in out of the bullpen. I want to see him right away get in the mix, and that's the way I would do it.
Well, here's one thing that I was thinking about today with that. Is if Malik Willis is going to be, let's say Malik Willis makes it. Let's say he realizes his potential, and because he does have legitimate high-end potential. I mean, it's a lot of these quarterbacks never have the kind of potential, the arm strength or the athleticism or even, just the base that Malik Willis has. And so Malik has that potential. If Malik realizes the potential and he's the future starter of the Titans, then he's going to start every game as a quarterback. Logan, the only way Logan Woodside gets into a football game for me is if Ryan Tannehill sprains his ankle and I'm Vrabel on the sidelines and I'm patting him on the butt saying, hey, I believe in you, Logan, get out there and go. And Woodside runs out onto the field and straps his helmet on. So to your point about starting Malik, I think I would do that too if I was Vrabel, because long term I would want to hope that Malik would be a starter, whereas Logan is a backup. And the Titans have trusted him in the Bengals game that if something happened to Tannehill in the playoffs, he'd have to go in. So wouldn't it make more sense to have Logan operate as a backup tonight?
Exactly. That's a great point. And I didn't even think about it that way, but you're 100% right. That's, just the way these guys have kind of fallen into their roles, right? Malik Willis is a future starter. Logan Woodside is a guy, he's your fireman. You get in a situation where your starter is not available, you bring him in, and his job is to keep the offense going.
How much do these 3 games, TD, matter for Malik Willis, not just for right now, but really for long term? Because once the Titans get out of training camp and into the season, I believe Malik will be doing a lot of scout team work, especially with the quarterbacks that they're going to play, like a Dak Prescott or Josh Allen or that kind of guy that I could see
Mahomes,
Malik on the field. And so I wonder if John Robinson is looking at maybe like Malik has something he has to prove to the Titans brass in order to get him to make them think that he really could be the quarterback of the future? Or do you think those things will be determined throughout the season away from anything that we'll be able to see?
Well, I think it's both, because you can, and Des Fitzpatrick showed last year, you can make a name for yourself and even, in his case, redeem yourself if you make plays on scout team. Mm-hmm. And Fitzpatrick was scout team player of the week multiple times. They've said that, and Willis, it's definitely possible for him to do that. But the thing you got to remember, right, training camp, once training camp is over, that's when all the developmental and extra time devoted to bringing your developmental guys along, that's when that slows down, because you're on game plan. There's a small crunch of time that you could prepare for each game. So that part of it will probably be a little bit pushed to the wayside. So he will have to show them what he could do as a scout team player. But I think regardless, they feel that he is a guy that will compete. Like, they're not just handing him the job, hey, you're the quarterback in the future, but they feel that he's a guy that will compete for that position and have an inside track on it eventually.
You've seen Malik at minicamp. You've seen Malik in practice. How excited are you to watch him in a game tonight?
I'm really excited because I want to see what he could do. Like I said, in live action, I want to see when, you're able to put a stress on the defense and literally make them have to play 11-on-11 football. You don't have to do it as much in 7-on-7, especially, and obviously in team period, because you're not really, if he scrambles, you just come down and you tag them. But that element that he brings, I think, is something that will be an additional thing for defenses to prepare for. And I just want to see how that impacts how defenses play against this Titans team.
Get your questions in for TD, 615-737-1025 into the text line. Of course, at the end of the hour, TD will answer those. But position battles, John Robinson not shying away from some of these out there as well. A lot of guys battling for spots either on the team or starting spots. I assume will play tonight. We'll get TD's thoughts on those and what he's looking for out of those positional battles. We'll do that coming up on the other side. FanDuel Sportsbook is my official sportsbook app. Start the second half of the baseball season the right way and turn K's into cash and big hits into big wins with the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Right now, new customers can step up to the plate with a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Just sign up using the promo code JGM and place your first bet, and FanDuel will give you up to $1,000 back in free bets if you don't win. I love the FanDuel Sportsbook app. They've got great promotions every day. It's a safe and secure app, and you get paid fast. Tonight, I'd say bet the Cubs. Even though the Reds have been okay, bet the Cubs in the Field of Dreams game. I'm going to be watching football tonight, but I am excited to see the Field of Dreams game once again. There's no better place to bet America's pastime than on America's #1 sportsbook and my official sportsbook app. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app using the promo code JGM to get started with your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. 21 and over in present Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line. 1-800-889-9789.
This is Tanner Janot, and this is Smashville.
And now down the right wing side, Tanner Janot. His shot, he scored! Tanner Janot with the shot!
This is the flagship of the Nashville Predators Radio Network. ESPN 1025, The Game.
This is Chef John from Kitchen Notes at the Omni Nashville. Invite you to come join us for breakfast and lunch. We are offering some exciting new menu items. For breakfast, we have a smoked prime rib hash. Comes with a sunny side up egg, hominy, caramelized onions. It's a great start to your day. We are featuring a sourdough pancake made with a sourdough bread starter. It's a fun spin on the classic buttermilk pancake. As always, Kitchen Notes is serving biscuits all day. Come join us and create a memorable experience here at the Omni Hotel. Food is all about memories for us. We'd like you to start a new memory here at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Hotel.
Breakfast at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Are you ready for this?
You've never seen the PBR like this. Buckle up for the ultimate weekend in Western sports as the PBR Team Series invades Nashville's Bridgestone Arena, August 19th through the 21st. 8 teams, 3 days, 1 champion. Don't miss your chance to watch history as it's made. Get your tickets now at PBR.com or Ticketmaster.com. PBR Team Series. Bull riding will never be the same.
Hey, homeowners and home buyers, listen up. Loan Pronto has 30-year fixed rates with APRs in the 4s and 15-year loans with APRs that start with 3. Hey, it's Willie Donick. Don't be confused by the media's hype about interest rates. At Loan Pronto, their rates have plummeted recently, and they're currently refinancing homeowners who locked in a 5 or 6% rate. So if you've got a rate over 5%, or if your lender has you pre-approved or locked in at anything 5% or higher, you need to call Loan Pronto now. Not all lender rates are created equal. Loan Pronto's rates are down big time, and you need to take advantage. Whether you're buying, refinancing, getting cash out, or even if you just closed a few weeks ago. Call Loan Pronto today, and you could save tens of thousands of dollars. Loan Pronto can help keep more money in your pocket. Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Stillman Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have 2 choices to hear our great sports programming. Get the extra point, no problem. And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey Nashville, this is Penny Hardaway, University of Memphis coach. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
You know, Derek, doesn't get a whole lot of reps out here in training camp, so gives those other guys a big opportunity to step in, get a lot more reps, and we can really see what they can do. Dontrell's a guy who came in, like you mentioned, last year, did some good things for us, and seeing that role, expanding a little bit, and he's making plays in the run game, he's making plays in the pass game. He has that feel that we can split him out and get a good matchup outside with him. You mentioned Haskins, a guy who's big, physical. Julius, undrafted guy. Julius Chestnut, guy who's impressed me. He's running hard. He's making plays. He's got some shiftiness, but he's got that low center of gravity and size too. So it's a competitive room, and looking forward to see how it all shakes out.
There you go, Ryan Tannehill breaking down the running backs, and we will see a lot of those guys tonight. Obviously, we won't see Derrick Henry. I don't know if we'll see Dontrell Hilliard or not, but Hassan Haskins we will see, Trenton Cannon we will see, Julius Chestnut we will see, and I would assume Wilkins we'll see as well. TD's with us. TD, a handful of positional battles, a handful of roster spots are up for grabs, guys trying to make a name for themselves. I want to start on the offensive line where it feels to me like Aaron Brewer at left guard is more secure than Dylan Radence is at right tackle. Nicholas Petit-Ferrer will be battling with him. They won't have the other guys, I would assume, from the offensive line out there with them. TD, what are you watching tonight at the tackle battle between Radence and Petit-Ferrer? We got TD again?
Yeah, now I can hear you. For some reason, it went out.
My bad, TD. What are you looking for at the tackle position between Radins and Petit Ferrer?
Yeah, I think really it's going to come down to the run blocking. I feel like they're basically even in pass pro, but there's an advantage with Petit Ferrer. You made a good point before when you said how there seems to be a little more movement when Petit Ferrer is blocking. So that's something to definitely watch, that right tackle position. I want to see who gets how many reps with the first group. You know, this is the first opportunity for everybody to see just where they are right now, how they look at this rotation. So that's going to be exciting, just watching those guys out there. And again, it's live. So now you got, you know, if you got a cut block, you could cut block. If you got to, you know, you could finish through your blocks a little bit more fully than you can when you're going against your teammates.
What do you make of the fact that the guys that are going to be on the offensive line tonight, that Petit Ferrer and Raines will be playing with, are not – it's not going to be Nate Davis next to him. It's not going to be Ben Jones at center. I hear often about how the offensive line, it's about one collective unit more so than one individual player or one individual spot. Do you think that matters at all when evaluating an individual tackle himself?
No, I don't think it matters initially because really, like, once those spots get settled in, that's when you start to really work on that chemistry and pairing and everything as far as, like, you know, on different blocks, pin and pull, duo, and all that type of stuff. That's when that comes into play. I think right now it's just these guys focusing on the technique, executing what they're being asked to do, not missing blocks, not missing blitz pickup and those type of things. You know, anything that results in one of your quarterbacks or your running backs getting blasted.
TD, what do you make of the battle at wide receiver? Again, Woods, Burks, Westbrook, Akina. I think McMath and Kyle Phillips are all locks, which would be 5. Last year they carried 7 receivers into the season. That would leave, you know, again, all the guys battling for it. Des Fitzpatrick, he will play tonight. Mason Kinsey will play tonight. Cody Hollister, Josh Malone, Reggie Robertson, Terry Godwin. What do you make of the receiver battle right now? Because even those back-end guys have done some impressive things in camp.
Yeah, it's a pretty good battle, right? And it's a group of players that are unproven, and that's the exciting part of it. Because you look at Josh Malone, you know, he made a play. Malik Willis pushed the ball down the field, threw a bomb to him, and we know what Racey McMath has done in practice, all the bombs, and then even beyond just the bombs he's catching, you know, being able to break down and get open on comebacks. So he uses that deep threat speed that he has to get open on other routes. And as Chris Sanders always says, selling the 9, you know. So that's a great thing. Mason Kinsey, he stepped up and made a couple of big plays in 2-minute drill. So it's a nice group of guys that are all hungry. You know, as I used to say on the Chase and TD show, they're playing like they're starving, like their ribs are showing. And that's what you're seeing. And, you know, when you get that type of approach to it, it's all hands on deck. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do tonight.
Who do you think has the inside track right now amongst the second-tier receivers? If we assume that McMath and Phillips are on the team, who do you think has the inside track for that last 1 or 2 spots?
Yeah, I think Des Fitzpatrick, just because, and this is something else that you pointed out, how much they're pushing his name out. Like, they're going out of their way to mention him in different situations at different times, you know. So I think he does have the inside track. He's a guy they want to come along. He's made some plays too, and I feel like they like the sense of urgency he started to play with. And sometimes it just strikes a little bit later for guys, and it seems like that's what's happening with Fitzpatrick.
I looked at the Falcons preseason opener last year when the Titans played the Falcons, and I was looking at the running backs, and I was trying to see, like, did anybody who ran the football for the Titans in the preseason against the Falcons, did they do anything in the regular season? And it was Mekhi Sargent and Darrington Evans running the football for the Titans. There was one guy who played in that preseason game who mattered at running back for the Titans last year, and it was Deontay Foreman, who was on the Falcons at the time. Tonight, I think we're going to get to see a lot of different running backs between Haskins, Cannon, Wilkins, and Chestnut. I really think that they like Chestnut. I don't think he'll make the team, but I think we'll see him get a lot of carries in the preseason like we saw Mekhi Sargent get a lot of carries. What have you thought in practice of those running backs, and how important is it to see them in a game because they don't really tackle in practice like they do a game.
Yeah, it's critical to see them in the game. And I tell you what, you mentioned Julius Chestnut, and I'm glad you did because he gives me the Natron Means vibes. You know, a guy that's just seems too big to be as quick on his feet as he is. And that's something he's shown that a couple times. You know, earlier in camp, he made a nice move and he made somebody miss. And then I think it was Joe Jones punched the ball out. And then last week, you know, we got to see him just have a nice little, it was Lawan and Brewer. They were able to kind of seal that edge, and he popped outside and he raced away from everybody. So there's definitely a lot of ability with him. Small school guy coming out of Sacred Heart, but, you know, he's playing with that chip on his shoulder. And I'll say this, Jordan Wilkins is an exciting player as well, and he had a nice cutback run that same day. It was actually a couple reps after Chestnut did, and he raced away from everybody. So I think when you look at him and just how he's been able to have some past success against the Titans, that always helps, right? Mm-hmm. So they'll be in the mix, and it'll just be good to see those guys play because they're hard running running backs.
Where do you think Haskins is at this point in his development?
I think he's far along. You're seeing him hit holes really well. He's showing some vision. He catches the football well. I think Haskins is right where you want him to be, and especially being a fourth-round pick, you know, that's tremendous value, having a guy that if something, God forbid, should happen, you know, he could come in and he could carry the load, you know, in a committee type of thing with Hilliard and maybe Trenton Cannon, you know, if they carry 4 backs, which is, I think, what they'll do.
TD, defensive line tonight. We know Jeffrey Simmons is not going to be playing tonight. I actually don't think Jeffrey Simmons is ever going to play a snap of preseason football in his career because he was hurt in 2019 as a rookie. 2020 didn't have a preseason. You know he wasn't going to play in the preseason last year, and you know he's not going to play this year. But Simmons and Autry will not play, obviously, tonight. I believe Tier Tart just has a resume that would make him a lock on the football team, and Naquan Jones was so good last year. But the other guys, they love this DeMarcus Walker. Deshaun Hand, who was out of Alabama, has made some nice plays in training camp. Laurel Murchison's been around for a couple of years. I think there's going to be some quality defensive linemen that play tonight for the Titans. How would you handicap that position?
Yeah, I think Walker out of that group has the inside track. He's done some really good things consistently, you know, getting pressure, stopping the run, and those type of things that we've seen in team period. I always like to watch when they do inside run. And he and Deshaun Hand, those guys, man, they wreck shop. So they both have been standouts. And there's another guy, 97, off the top of my mind, I can't remember his name, but he's someone else that, you know, I saw stand out. 90s. What is his? I don't remember his
Kevin
name. I don't
Strong.
know if you have a roster.
Strong.
Kevin Strong. Yeah,
Yep.
Kevin Strong. Thanks, Ian. Kevin Strong has stood out too.
Get your questions in for TD about tonight's preseason game. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, and TD will fire them off on the other side. 615-737-1025. We are your racing station. 1025-1063. The Game is Nashville's home for NASCAR. Tune in this Sunday at 1 o'clock for the Federated Auto Parts 400. Also join Chase McCabe every Sunday morning at 8 for Chasing Checkers as he talks to the drivers and gets you set for the race weekend. NASCAR on 1025-1063. The Game is presented by the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway.
Hey everybody, Willie Donick here to tell you about Trivia Night for Stars. Think you're pretty smart? Well, come on out Wednesday, August 24th to Boom Bars East and test your trivia skills. I'll be your trivia master. We'll have sports questions, some non-sports questions, and some great prizes. It's brought to you by Nerdy Talk, and all proceeds support Stars and the hope, health, and connection of young people in our community. Register your team of no more than 4 and let the competition begin. Go to starsnashville.org to officially sign up. That's starsnashville.org. See you on August 24th at Boom Bars East.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobis. High temperatures today climbing into the upper 80s, just shy of 90 degrees. Still some humidity out there we're going to feel throughout the day, and isolated showers and storms in the forecast, mainly south of I-40 this afternoon through the evening.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Staples stores are a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore more at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
The Nashville Sheriff is hiring correctional officers. Earn $52,500 after paid training and probation. Positions are available immediately. You must be 21 and over with a high school diploma or GED. Come join our family. That's $52,500 with great benefits. Apply now at sheriff.nashville.gov/apply or call 615-862-8170. Earn $52,500. Stop searching. Apply now. The Nashville Sheriff.
Hey Nashville, it's Jared, and there's a new go-to for home furnishing.
The summer clearance sale at Social Furniture, where all furniture is reduced in every department. Designer sofas from $5.99 and leather sofas from $7.99. Queen bedroom sets with queen bed, dresser, and mirror from $11.99. They come in solid, cherry, oak, and gray. Casual 5-piece dining room sets starting at $3.99, and formal dining sets starting at $5.99. Sealy, Stearns & Foster's, Simmons, Serta, and Purple Mattress, all sizes on sale.
Social Furniture on the west side is independently home-owned furniture store in Nashville. Forget the big box stores. Shop local, shop social. They have all the best brand mattresses, sofas, recliners, love seats, sectionals, coffee tables, and more with no waiting. They will deliver it the same day. That's with everything at Social Furniture. Enjoy new furniture now with no waiting. Shop local, shop social. 5412 Charlotte Avenue near White Bridge Road, and tell them Jared Stillman sent you.
Tennessee has lots of buried pipelines, so it's important to know the signs of a leak, like if you smell unusual odors or hear hissing. Ew. See bubbling earth or water, or dead or dying vegetation. Some signs are even harder to miss, like dirt being blown into the air, a frost ball in an open field, or a flame coming from the ground. If you see any of these signs, don't wait. Leave the area immediately and call 911 or your pipeline company. For more tips on pipeline safety, visit pipesafety.org. A message from the Tennessee Gas Association, Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Informative.
They played a lot of power play time together back in the day.
Insightful.
It's a great addition to this team.
And just three guys being dudes.
On the sideline in shorts and a t-shirt, hanging out, watching the game.
Chase, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays from 10 to 2.
No such thing as bad press.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, hey, tune in for Sounds Baseball tonight on 94.9 The Fan at 5:35 as they've got a doubleheader. The Sounds are at home at First Horizon Park, taking on the Gwinnett Stripers, the AAA affiliate of the Atlanta Braves. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by 312 Pizza and Farm Bureau Health Plans. Teron Davenport's with us, TD, live from Baltimore, getting ready for tonight's preseason game of the Titans and the Ravens. But it's time for your questions for TD, and our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Titans and Truth. Chris is up next. Chris, you're on with TD.
Hey, how's it going, gentlemen?
Good.
Yeah, good. Definitely hear from both of y'all. It's been a minute, but I got a question for both of y'all. I've mentioned this before. Like, I'm excited to see what the offensive line is going to look like, and definitely see who can step up at wide receiver aside from Traylon Burks. But my question for both of you, and I thought about this on my show, who could play themselves onto the team who maybe doesn't have a lock yet, who could play themselves onto the team, and maybe who we think is a lock, who could play themselves off the team? Because Larrell Murchison, I think his job is on the line.
Well,
So,
I think
thank you, Chris.
I think a lot of that is going to be on the defensive line. Those guys especially. We just went over Deshaun Hand, DeMarcus Walker, Kevin Strong, Larrell Murchison. Those are guys that I think could play themselves onto the team. I look at, the receivers, right? And that back end of that group, Des Fitzpatrick, Mason Kinsey, Josh Malone. These are guys also. Trenton Cannon is another one. Shakur Brown, we haven't talked about him, but that guy has done an excellent job at the nickel and playing outside as well. So that's a guy who could play himself onto the team. So there's plenty of options. We could take up this whole segment with that, but those are just 5 or 6 off the top.
One guy that keeps making plays in camp for me, TD, is a linebacker by the name of Joe Jones. I feel like he's going to play a lot in the preseason. And last year they carried 4 inside linebackers into the season, and Rashawn Evans and Jayon Brown aren't here anymore. Zach Cunningham and David Long Jr. are obviously going to start. Monty Rice is still hurt. I think there are spots at the linebacker position that are definitely up for grabs, and guys are going to play.
Well, don't forget about number 45, and I talk him up every time I get because I just love the way he plays football, and that's Chance Campbell. And he had, I think it was 775 tackles last year or something like that. It was actually like 143, but he's a guy that just finds the football. He actually got matched up one-on-one with Chigga on the outside during the team period and knocked it down when they tried to go his way. And they called it out before the play. They said, hey, you got a matchup over there. And they went to it, and Chance said, oh, no, it's not a matchup. I'm breaking it up.
David asks into the text line, TD, what do you make of the bad blood in past seasons between Harbaugh, Vrabel, the Titans, and the Ravens? Does any of that spill over into tonight's preseason game?
No, I don't think it spills over. It's just a matter of these two guys are fierce competitors, and I got to be around both of them, from my days covering the Ravens, and they're junkyard dogs, right? They want to win, and they're up front, and they speak their mind, and they don't take any crap. So naturally, two guys like that, two alphas like that, you're going to have a dust up, and that's what we had. And their organizations just kind of follow their lead. So that's really all it is.
Will asks, how much do you think we'll be able to take away from the schemes or play calling or packages that Todd Downing and Tim Kelly run tonight, even if Ryan Tannehill and the rest of the starting offense isn't in there?
Yeah, I don't really think there's much to take away. In preseason, you don't really put much out there. And remember, they have a new wrinkle that they've mixed in there, right, with Tim Kelly and that passing attack. So you're not really going to see much. They're not going to look to put too much out there. But, I mean, it's still going to be something where they look to get their guys in position to make plays. So I think really it's just a matter of focusing on the individual players, their ability to make things happen.
Davis says, TD, there's speculation that Brett Kern could be in a battle with Stonehouse, the rookie punter. What have you seen so far, and how big are the 3 preseason games if there is a punter battle?
Yeah, I've seen Stonehouse booning some of those punts, man. But, I mean, Brett Kern, we're talking about a guy who is, one of the best in the league. So it's going to be a battle, right? You're seeing them go back and forth. And obviously Vrabel had, some of the comments about the punting game. So we'll see what happens. I think it is a competition, but ultimately that's one I think Brett Kern will pull out.
Joseph texts in and says, TD, who on offense do you expect to show out this year like Mekhi Sargent has showed out last year?
Who on offense? Julius Chestnut. I think he's going to show out, man. Julius Chestnut. And don't forget about Brandon Lewis out of Air Force. He's another one. Those two, I think, end up being media darlings. And Mason Kinsey as well. So those 3.
So I actually looked it up today, like how many passes Malik Willis has thrown in the practices that I've covered to who he's thrown them to, just as a sense. Brandon Lewis is by far Malik Willis's number 1 target. And I don't know why that is. It doesn't mean that he's going to be his number 1 target tonight. But I did find that fascinating that Brandon Lewis is the guy Malik Willis throws the ball to the most. You make anything of that?
They like guys to get open, and he gets open. We talk about Kyle Phillips being a tough cover. Brandon Lewis is as well. And you look at the last time they had that 50-second or 1 minute, 25-second period, right? He went to Malik Willis, went to Brandon Lewis. It hit him in a bad spot, right in the hands. He dropped it, but then he went right back to him a few plays later, and he made a nice catch along the sideline. That, to me, shows confidence.
Ron texts in and says, TD, how frustrated should the Titans be if they don't like what they see at right tackle tonight?
I don't think they should be frustrated at all. I think when you look at this process, it is just that. There's plenty of time still to see what it is that they have. So I don't think that's an issue.
Caleb texts in and says, TD, nobody talks about Jamarco Jones anymore. The Titans spent an extended period of time talking about Jamarco Jones as a possible battler for Aaron Brewer. Is that still a battle, and what do you expect out of Jamarco Jones?
I think it's still Aaron Brewer. He's kind of separated. And it'll be a battle. I mean, I would highly doubt they close the competition so quickly, but it seems like Aaron Brewer has a stronghold on that. And I like the way, talking to Jeffrey Simmons, he said that working against Brewer is actually helping him. How unique is that, right? One of the best defensive linemen in the game saying that working against Brewer is helping him, not him helping Brewer. And it's because of the quickness that Brewer has and the toughness. So that tells me a lot right there.
I wonder if Brewer plays tonight, because I feel like he maybe has locked that job up.
Definitely, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play. And, you want to get Jamarco Jones as many reps as possible, so I wouldn't be surprised.
So, TD, I'm going to ask you for this as you exit here and get set for the game. What would be your advice to Titans fans that have not been keeping up with everything at training camp or have not been able to go out to training camp? What would your advice to them be tonight if this is going to be the first they see of these players that are going to play for the Titans?
Believe what you see, but don't get too high and don't get too low. It is the preseason, game one. Things happen, good and bad. And I'm telling you that as well for your blood pressure. We got to keep that right.
I thought that message, when I heard you say it, I thought that might be just for me directly as well as the audience. TD, enjoy the game tonight. We look forward to all your great coverage afterwards. And, of course, you'll be on the morning show, I would assume, tomorrow as well to break it down. Great stuff. Appreciate you, TD.
No problem. Appreciate it.
Yep, TD joining us, Teron Davenport, for the TD Power Hour here on the program. So, Ryan Tannehill will not play tonight. But there is another report by a non-biased, or I would say somebody who has absolutely no skin in the game, about Tannehill and what they've seen, which is what matches what we've seen. We'll get to that coming up next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Heads up. 106.3 FM is a new way to hear 102.5 The Game from downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and on I-24 to Murfreesboro.
Make sure you have that preset on your radio dial.
We're making it even easier to listen to Nashville's best sports talk.
Because we have a great show planned for you today.
Tune in to 106.3.
That's what makes this team better.
And hear the difference.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
We're Saia LTL Freight. For nearly a century, our team has been committed to driving business forward. From Lady Liberty to the Golden Gate, Superstore to Corner Store. We go that extra mile, expanding our team to better serve you. So trust that when you partner with Saia, we take every delivery personally. Visit Saia.com for all your shipping needs. That's SAIA.com.
Robbie Stanley.
Sometimes the overthinking that takes place, pretty mind-boggling.
Joe Rexroad.
Thought there was an issue. There's not an issue. There's no issue. They're doing wonderful.
Wake up and hang out with Robbie and Rexroad every weekday morning from 6 to 10.
Taking care of business this early in the morning.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I do not want to deprive people of a close-up of my face.
Watch live on YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope.
Don't be surprised this week to see other jewelry store owners shopping at Genesis Diamonds. They'll be taking advantage of Genesis' most aggressive offer ever. All GIA diamond engagement rings marked down an extra 20% below Genesis' everyday price.
That's right. The vault is open, and we're selling the finest handcrafted diamond rings at rock-bottom prices. Now for a very limited time.
The GIA is the world standard in diamond grading, certifying accuracy and documenting quality, so you can buy with confidence.
Every Genesis engagement ring is included in this event, from a half carat up to 20 carat stones, all shapes, rounds, princess cuts, emerald cuts, cushion cuts, ovals.
There has never been a better time to get an extreme value price on a GIA certified diamond, perfectly set in a gorgeous engagement ring. Hurry in for best selection. It's Genesis Diamonds GIA Diamond Extravaganza.
Save an extra 20% on these rare, precious diamond rings, now for a limited time. One per customer, please.
Exclusively at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
33 hours of savings this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at Electronic Express. These deals are so hot they only last 33 hours. Get a Hisense 65-inch 4K TV for just $399 or a JBL Bluetooth speaker for just $99. Save up to 50% on 4K TVs, computers, housewares, appliances, and more. Don't miss out on a Samsung Galaxy Watch 4 for $229 or a Medea laundry pair for just $399 each. Now through Saturday, shop online or at all Electronic Express locations.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne,
Robbie and Rex Road, Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Stillman and Company, Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball. We got pass rushes. Awesome Game 7. Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. The preseason, that's right, starts tonight for the Titans, but training camp is well underway. Don't expect to see any of the household name players, though. Traylon Burks, the rookies, Burks and Okonkwo and Phillips and Haskins and Willis will all play tonight. Petit Ferrer will play. I believe Caleb Farley will play. Christian Fulton will play. But the household names, the Tannehills, the Simmons, the Autreys, the Henrys, those guys are not going to play. But that doesn't mean the training camp's not important, and it's not important for them. In fact, when Michael Jordan returned to the NBA after a 2-year hiatus in which he played baseball, Steve Kerr in the Last Dance documentary brought up the fact that Michael Jordan was absolutely energized at the start of training camp. That it was obvious right away that Michael Jordan had taken his game to another level. Why? Because Jordan had felt embarrassed by losing to the Orlando Magic in the previous year's playoffs. I think it's obvious Ryan Tannehill was embarrassed by his performance against the Cincinnati Bengals. In fact, people like me wanted to go look for a new quarterback. Could they lure Aaron Rodgers here? What about Russell Wilson? Thinking that 2 poor playoff performances in a row probably meant that Ryan Tannehill had maxed out his potential with the Titans with the AFC Championship game. However, I've been at 8 of the 10 practices the Titans have had so far, and I see a different Tannehill. I, remember, was very hard on Ryan Tannehill last season. I was very hard on Ryan Tannehill last preseason. Why? Because I saw it with my own eyes. The Titans beat the Colts in Week 3 in a game in which Indianapolis was absolutely hurt, and I didn't think Tannehill played very well. And even though they won, and I took all your calls, and I got all your texts, Jared, we won, I was like, there's something wrong here. And that continued throughout the course of the season. So ESPN has sent 2 of their insiders, the guys that you actually see on SportsCenter all the time, Dan Graziano and Jeremy Fowler, and they have both been to Titans camp within the last week. Dan Graziano on Tuesday put out his breakdown of the Titans and what he's seen at training camp, and just like me, he has seen a different Ryan Tannehill. As Dan Graziano put out there his first observation, quote, "The coaching staff thinks quarterback Ryan Tannehill is having a much better camp than he did last year." So again, Joe can sit there and say that, Tannehill was the same last year as he is this year. Dan Graziano says that a much better training camp this year. What's that mean, Graziano wrote? Attention to detail, determination to correct mistakes, his and others, and just overall command of the huddle and of the offense. Jeremy Fowler, another ESPN insider, had his breakdown of Titans camp today. Here's what he said at ESPN.com. Quote, "The word I'm getting out of training camp is Ryan Tannehill has impressed the Titans, and that's not typical camp optimism. as my colleague Dan Graziano mentioned on Tuesday, Tannehill has come with serious edge after an offseason that tested his mettle. Talked to just about anyone at Tennessee about how players are performing at camp, and Tannehill's name comes up quickly. Remember last Friday, I went to practice, and I saw Tannehill throw the football with confidence, with accuracy. I saw him throw open Nick Westbrook-Akina, and I said, that was a throw. I watched him hit the deep ball to Racey McMath 3 days in a row. I've seen the connection between him and Robert Woods. I heard about how he absolutely ripped Kyle Phillips a new one when Phillips messed up a play in a 7-on-7. That's not the same Tannehill that I watched against Cincinnati put his tail in between his legs, put his head down, go up and talk to the media for 3 minutes and disappear for 4 months. It looks like a different guy. Now, does that necessarily mean that Ryan Tannehill is going to be a different guy this year in the season? No, it doesn't necessarily mean that. But does it mean that, well, training camp is useless and nobody cares, or, Jared, you are making something up, or it didn't happen, or, well, it can't be me, because I was the harshest critic as far as Ryan Tannehill was concerned this offseason. Couldn't be me. See, this is why I go to practice, because I can see things at practice, and then I can come on the air with you and say, hey, Tannehill does not look the same right now. And then a lot of people will either choose to believe me or not believe me. Whether they believe me or not tells me not really how I think or anything about my opinion, but it really tells me about your opinion. But I see it, and then I relay it to you. Dan Graziano saw it, and he's relaying it to you. Jeremy Fowler, ESPN. These guys have no bias. And I'm not the biggest fan of Graziano or Fowler, and I think sometimes they go on TV and they speculate more than they report. But that doesn't mean that their opinions that they took away from when they came to training camp are not rooted in what they saw. What does Dan Graziano get out of lying about, oh, yeah, everybody's saying Tannehill is doing a much better job? Fowler reports the same thing. After a while, unless it's an echo chamber of people who want to believe something, who walk in with an inherent bias, chances are that's probably what it is. In fact, even Vrabel last Friday, when I started to notice, wow, this Ryan Tannehill at training camp is not the same Ryan Tannehill, even Vrabel went out of his way to compliment Tannehill in a way that Vrabel almost never compliments anybody. Mike, how do you feel about Ryan's decision-making in this camp, maybe compared to other, what you've seen from him in the past?
I think it's been good. I think he's been pretty decisive. I think he's been very accurate on days. I know, he had the interception yesterday that he tried to, get the ball, layered over Kevin's head. But I would say that all in all, he's been pretty accurate. I really kind of like where his tone is and the way that he's talking to those, skilled players that he's throwing to. It's a big group, so at any snap he could have a different combination of guys, maybe a lot less than what would be in the season. And I hear coaching, I hear him talking, and I hear, so when your quarterback does that or your position players, do that, let's say Kevin Byard or David Long, Jeff, then really we don't need to say anything. And Ryan's, telling those guys where he wants them, and if there's a correction that needs to be made, you see some of those things being done in those group periods.
That's what's happening in training camp. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but the reality is oftentimes guys that perform the best in practice, generally speaking, perform the best in the games. I didn't cover every training camp practice in 2019. I think in large part the reason why I didn't go to practice very often in 2019 and before that was because working with Floyd, I knew that if I walked in with a bunch of notes and said, hey, I think that so-and-so's doing well at camp, he'd laugh and say, you don't know what you're talking about, and that wouldn't have really been any use of my time, nor yours, nor would have that made for entertaining radio. But the last 2 years, I've been at practice pretty much day in and day out. Last year, Ryan Tannehill had some questionable throws. And I remember because we would talk about it all the time. We would talk about, is it the lack of continuity at receiver? Is it the fact that A.J. Brown and Julio Jones are on another field and they're over here doing whatever, and he's out there throwing to guys like Nick Westbrook-Akina and Chester Rogers and Marcus Johnson? Is it because the offensive line is going through changes? At one point, there was a practice against the Buccaneers where in the 2-minute drill, Tom Brady just moved right down the field. And then Tannehill got his shot. And I'm standing there watching Tannehill in the 2-minute drill, and he's taking snaps from a center, Daniel Munyer, who can't get him the ball, and he's throwing to a receiver, Cam Batson, who didn't come back to the ball. And Tannehill, who never throws anybody under the bus, kind of chucked him under the bus a little bit after the fact. I'm like, whoa, that's different. But Tannehill looked like a hot mess at times in camp last year. And now he's looking sharp. And that's a big deal to me because I believe that guys practice like they play. And we've seen Tannehill in 2019 be as efficient of a passer as Joe Montana. I forget exactly what the stat was. I want to say it was maybe quarterback rating, but it was, he's the first quarterback to do this since Joe Montana in 1980, whatever. And last year was a far cry from that. It's not like the Titans went out and got him all-stars at wide receiver like the Miami Dolphins did for Tua Tagovailoa. In fact, the Dolphins went out and got Tua a receiver that nobody can overthrow. So basically, in the end, they can just tell Tua, throw it as far as you can. They didn't get him Devontae Adams. They got him Robert Woods. And I like Robert Woods, but Robert Woods is a guy the Rams didn't want anymore. The Rams were building their roster. They knew they had to give Cooper Kupp a raise, but they really wanted Allen Robinson. And so when they signed Allen Robinson, they told Robert Woods, we got to move on. And that guy right now, a guy the Rams didn't want, is the number one receiver of the Titans. Last year they had A.J. Brown. Their other receivers, a first-round pick who we'll see tonight, but looks like he's actually got some talent, but nobody knows. Sometimes first-round picks can be Kendall Wright or N'Keal Harry, but that's their second option. Their tight end is a guy they signed 3 days into free agency who took a one-year deal because nobody wanted to offer him a long-term deal, and he had just been cut for underperforming in Cleveland. So it's not like they went out and got Ryan Tannehill a bunch of great weapons after what happened last year. And yet it looks different. And that is not a guarantee that it will look different in the season. But like I said, I believe guys practice like they play. Last year, Tannehill did not practice well. This year, Tannehill is practicing well. And I get it. Joe Rexrode will argue that it doesn't matter. Joe Rexrode will argue that he doesn't notice anything different between this year or last year. Well, don't take my word for it. Take Dan Graziano. Take Jeremy Fowler. ESPN. Those guys are going there and saying, everybody we're talking to with the Titans, they've been wowed by Ryan Tannehill's training camp. Again, I believe in information, not affirmation. So if you have the belief that Ryan Tannehill absolutely stinks and that he's hot garbage, then you won't believe the information that you hear from somebody else. But if you believe something about Tannehill but are open to information, then this info that objective, non-biased, have no skin in the game, live in Bristol, Connecticut reporters are telling you Tannehill's been pretty impressive. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. Chris Sanders, who had been through everything with Steve McNair over the years, drafted in the same draft class as him, he has a thought on what Tannehill's showing in training camp. We'll get to that next. And your phone, Stillman and Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
they're still in good shape to make the playoffs,
and I-840.
Players make it clear they don't want to be
you somewhere anymore?
There's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
And he has added players that do fit.
What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams.
This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have two choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
With nearly 6,000 Napa Auto Parts stores and over 17,000 Napa Auto Care centers, Napa is the fuel that helps drivers like you get up and go.
Pink Floyd's Roger Waters. This is not a drill.
We're doing a show in the round. It's something new. I look forward to the challenge.
Featuring his songs from the golden era of Pink Floyd. Saturday, August 27th, Bridgestone Arena. Tickets at rogerwaters.com.
This is not a drill.
Produced by AEG Presents.
Are you sick and tired of constant pain in your knees, hips, or back? Especially this time of the year. You need to be moving pain-free, right? Hey, Willie Donick here for the team at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is helping people every day, giving them lasting pain relief using the latest advances in regenerative medicine. The science is simple. They concentrate your own body's healing agents and apply them to your aching joints, restoring and repairing the damaged tissue. No drugs, no steroids, no surgery. The old remedies for pain are not the only remedies. You need to learn more about how regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics can change your life. Make this the last summer you suffer from chronic pain. They've got clinics here and all over America. This is the exciting new, natural way to deal with joint pain. No side effects, no downtime. So call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
Our fleet vehicle program is a great benefit to all the fleet companies in Nashville. We are able to get their vehicle back on the road a lot quicker than the downtime of most dealers and most general repair shops, simply because we have the transmissions available. We're able to put priority on their vehicles to get them back on the road quickly.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
You guys have 10 practices in. What do you like about what you've done so far? Maybe what are some areas that need to still be cleaned up?
Yeah, we're doing a lot of good things. I'm really happy with the progress that we've made throughout this training camp. Guys that are stepping up for us. Guys had opportunity to make plays and have been able to make them. The progression of the offense, where now we're getting into that kind of second layer of offense, where we're not just calling a play and running. We're getting up there, we're making checks, changing some routes, and guys are sticking with me. We're able to make those adjustments, whether it's moving a formation or just changing the route. Our guys are operating. So to be able to do that where we're at right now and continue to build on that is going to be huge for our success this year. So proud of our guys, even some of the young guys who are getting on board with that right now. And just got to keep the foot on the gas. We've done a lot of good things, but there's still a lot of things that we need to clean up and be more efficient at. So proud of our guys where we're at right now, but got to keep the foot on the gas.
There you go, Ryan Tannehill talking about the fact that, hey, he likes what he's seen in training camp. And, again, I'm not trying to get, the problem with me in training camp is last year, the Titans' defense was such a mess in 2020 that when we got out to training camp, all we wanted to know, because we thought this Titans offense would be so electric with Tannehill and Henry and Julio and AJ, and we had even, and by we, I really should take responsibility for this because I did talk myself into Josh Reynolds. I never talked myself into Anthony Ferkser, but I did talk myself into Josh Reynolds. But our concern was so much about the Titans' defense that we didn't really talk much at all about the Titans' offense and their struggles other than, well, is that good offense or is that good or bad offense or good defense? And right now, it's been a very competitive camp. And one of the players say, that's how I know that it's a competitive camp, is some days the offense wins, some days the defense wins. Which, again, sounds good on paper. Tannehill has been impressive. Tannehill has been impressive. Chris Sanders was on our show yesterday, former Titans receiver. I asked him about the way Tannehill is holding guys accountable this year, the way Tannehill is almost being more honest this season on the field with his receivers, and if that's a big deal. Here's what Chris Sanders said yesterday.
Think about it is when somebody questions your leadership, you got two choices: to get better or get bitter. And the reason why I love what Tannehill's doing is he's taking ownership of his mistakes. I mean, look at what the situation that happened when they lost the Cincinnati Bengals. He just left without talking to anybody and not communicating. But now he's understanding that if he communicates with his receivers, communicates with the fans, communicates in a situation, then he can make everything better. Because the thing about it is, everybody can learn from their mistakes. Look at the mistakes that he made. He had a choice to learn from it or get mad, and he's learning from what he's doing. I think he's doing a great job by becoming a great leader. Not talking about it, but doing it with action.
I think that's a big step for this team. And I think it's Vrabel who's pushing him. And that's the job of the coach. And so right now, I'm not going to get, full-on Bobo and tell you all that Ryan Tannehill is a changed man and that he is the answer to the prayers of the Titans, because that will be decided this season. I hear a lot of people act as if the regular season doesn't matter for the Titans, like this is the NBA and everybody knows the Titans are going to make the postseason. I don't know that. I think they probably will, but this is not, hey, they'll absolutely make the playoffs, and then when they make the playoffs, what happens? So the regular season does matter for Ryan Tannehill. And last year, outside of the Texans game at the end of the year, and I guess you could argue the Seattle game, Ryan Tannehill was not a good quarterback for this team. This year it looks different. And so it maybe doesn't change my expectation that it will be different come the playoffs, but I could absolutely see something similar. And that is why I could see something similar where they get to the playoffs and defenses have to fear Tannehill more, and I still don't think Tannehill will get them over the hump in the playoffs. But at least it's better than the alternative. And every time I get on one of these Tannehill things where I start talking about the leadership, or I start talking about the accountability, or the fact that I believe that Marcus, the nicest guy in the world, didn't have this in him. That one time I went to practice in 2019, and Anthony Ferkser in a non-tackle drill, I don't even think they were wearing pads, Anthony Ferkser fumbled the football, and Marcus came over, and I was hoping Marcus would chew him out, because I need the quarterback to get on the guys to say, hey, this is my freaking team, and if you're going to play on my freaking team, you're not going to fumble the ball, or I'm not going to give you the ball. And I watched Marcus talk to him and just give him a nice little pat on the helmet, and that was that. And I didn't like it, because I feel like the quarterback needs to hold everybody accountable. I feel like the quarterback needs to tell guys, I think a quarterback needs to be brutally honest with his guys and say, you're not getting the job done. I believe in the past, Tannehill, while not as non-confrontational as Mariota was, didn't have that in him. I feel like he might have it in him right now. And that's at least a positive step in the right direction. And as Chris Sanders said, there's two choices. There's to get better or get bitter. It does feel like, and oftentimes guys say things in press conferences or they tell the press a story, and it is almost in one ear and out the other. In fact, there's so much doublespeak and non-committal discussion that happens, whether it's politicians or coaches or business owners or executives or players, that sometimes it comes off as incredibly hollow. It comes off as not worthy of discussing. Ryan Tannehill talked about how that Cincinnati game was going to fuel him after he didn't talk about the Cincinnati game for 4 months. Then he talked about it being a scar, and a scar that he would live with. Well, it does feel like the Cincinnati game has affected him. It does feel like the Cincinnati game was some kind of rock bottom that made him realize, hey, man, your career in the NFL might be over if you don't get it together. I've told the story about Brad Johnson. The Buccaneers win the Super Bowl with John Gruden in his first year. Brad Johnson's the quarterback. The next year, they don't make the playoffs. That was a legitimate Super Bowl hangover. Keyshawn gets kicked off the team. They got Warren Sapp and Darren Brooks and John Lynch, and they're all getting older, and they don't make the playoffs. So Tampa Bay, that had won the Super Bowl and had all these expectations, the next year they don't do anything. So then they run it back that third year, and Brad Johnson, they start 0-4. Brad Johnson's terrible. He gets benched. That's it for Brad Johnson, and that's it for that era of Buccaneer football. And after what I saw out of Tannehill and the way he reacted to the Cincinnati game, I was fearful that was what was going to happen here. That this season was going to start, and he was going to stink, and he was going to put his head down, and he was going to not take responsibility for what happened in that Bengals game. And I will tell you right now, after what I've seen in training camp, I no longer fear that at the same level that I did going in. So make of that what you will. I think Ryan Tannehill has impressed a lot of people in camp, and it's not just me. And maybe training camp doesn't matter to you, but I'd say it's a pretty big deal. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to get in. 615-737-1025. Here is our phone number. Calls and text. We will get to those. Also, we got a little news on the Titans in tonight's preseason game. A shocker, I believe, to some. But the right call by Vrabel. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Titans training camp is underway.
Talking Titans?
What wide receivers make the team?
Traylon Burks, the physicality. Robert Woods, route concepts and how to get open.
Who starts on the offensive line?
It's a full-on right tackle battle.
What other storylines will stand out?
Malik Willis, some of the best he's looked in camp.
Titans training camp coverage is fueled by Parman Energy. Now hiring fuel drivers. Apply now at ParmanEnergy.com and by USA Hemp Store on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Race fans, Nashville's legendary racetrack, the Fairgrounds Speedway, features their back-to-school family night coming up August 13th. Awesome racing action with the Pro Late Model 100, the Outlaws, limited late models, street stocks, pure stocks, front runners, legends, and bandoleros. Get your tickets today at NashvilleFairgroundsSpeedway.racing and experience local racing's best at Nashville's legendary track. Get your tickets today. That's NashvilleFairgroundsSpeedway.racing.
Don't be surprised this week to see other jewelry store owners shopping at Genesis Diamonds. They'll be taking advantage of Genesis' most aggressive offer ever. All GIA diamond engagement rings marked down an extra 20% below Genesis' everyday price.
That's right. The vault is open, and we're selling the finest handcrafted diamond rings at rock bottom prices. Now for a very limited time.
The GIA is the world standard in diamond grading, certifying accuracy and documenting quality, so you can buy with confidence.
Every Genesis engagement ring is included in this event, from a half carat up to 20 carat stones, all shapes, rounds, princess cuts, emerald cuts, cushion cuts, ovals.
There has never been a better time to get an extreme value price on a GIA certified diamond, perfectly set in a gorgeous engagement ring. Hurry in for best selection. It's Genesis Diamonds GIA Diamond Extravaganza.
Save an extra 20% on these rare, precious diamond rings, now for a limited time. One per customer, please.
Exclusively at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
Men, what if I told you that now you are able to get testosterone replacement therapy in the comfort of your own home? No more weekly trips to the doctor's office. We come to you 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. Be seen by a licensed medical professional in the privacy and comfort of your own home or office. You decide. Schedule your appointment today at CoolSpringsMD4Men.com.
O'Reilly. Protect your vehicle's engine with Syntec and O'Reilly Auto Parts. Syntec Premium Full Synthetic Motor Oil is formulated for today's engines to dissipate heat and reduce friction and wear. Right now, get 5 quarts of Syntec Full Synthetic and a MicroGuard Select oil filter for just $33.99. Try Syntec today, exclusively at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
When looking for quality recreational sports in Nashville, look no further than Mid-State Sports. With over 25,000 participants, they're one of the largest sports organizations in the Southeast. Fall registration is now open for youth soccer for boys and girls aged 3 to 13. Registration is also open for adult sports like softball, sand volleyball, soccer, flag football, kickball, and basketball. For a full list of youth and adult sports leagues, check out midstatesports.com.
Your home for Hit City is 94.9 The Fan.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their series against the Gwinnett Stripers at First Horizon Park.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win.
Coverage begins at 6:50.
On your home for Sounds baseball, 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey Nashville, I'm Gary Smith, head coach of Nashville SC. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 The Game.
Mike, through 10 days, what have you seen from Malik, maybe in terms of the demeanor of handling the ups and downs of being a quarterback?
Well, the ups and downs, I think that's great. I think his, his ability to move on to the next play, to be able to process things quickly and understand when it was a mistake, and his, being able to be coached has been great. We just have to continue again, as we move forward here and some of the stuff that we're doing. To be able to handle the operation, making sure that it's clean. We did some of the stuff on the ball today, how important that process is for the quarterback. And, I'm sure there'll be plenty of things for us to coach him up on. But his ability to recover from maybe, a snap that he wasn't, at his best, I think he's done a really nice job.
There you go. That was Vrabel on Malik Willis. And obviously, Vrabel must feel something about Malik Willis because Malik Willis is going to start tonight. I see TD's reported it. Malik Willis will start for the Titans in the preseason game against the Ravens. Now, I have a couple of thoughts on this. My first thought is I believe this is the right move for Vrabel for a couple of reasons. Number one, I believe that the Titans know what Logan Woodside is. Logan Woodside was on their practice squad in 2019. I believe he was on the practice squad in 2018. And then he played in the AAF. And then he was back on the practice squad, played in the preseason in 2019. Then was the backup in 2020. Then was the backup last year and played in the preseason. And is going to be the backup, I would assume, and play this season. The Titans know what Logan Woodside is. At this point, he's been with the operation for 4 years. When Billy Volek was an undrafted free agent out of Fresno State and made the team by beating out then incumbent third stringer Kevin Daft, the Titans didn't necessarily know that Billy Volek would one day overtake Neil O'Donnell for the backup job or be ready for a backup job or even be ready for a pseudo-starter role. They had no idea. But 4 years in, they knew that Billy Volek they knew that he was good enough to compete for the backup job and play in games like he did. The Titans know what Logan Woodside is. The second thing is when it comes to playing Logan Woodside. So when the Titans decide, if the Titans get put in a situation where they're going to have to put Logan Woodside in a game, it is, I would assume, not going to be, hey, Ryan Tannehill is out for this next game, Logan, you start. And even if it is, Logan Woodside has enough experience starting. But the most likely scenario in which Logan Woodside plays for the Titans is a game in which Tannehill is on the ground and Vrabel turns around with the headset and says, Logan, get in there. So if Logan's going to have practice doing something, he's already got experience starting games. He started them in the AAF, and he started games in the preseason in his career. It'd be better off for Logan to buckle up the chin strap and go run out there in the middle of a game, because that's how guys get in games. The real reason, though, I think Vrabel's doing this is because ultimately the Titans have got to decide whether or not Malik Willis is the future of the organization. All the other guys that are going to play tonight that are rookies all could play valuable snaps for the Titans this year. Treylon Burks will start at wide receiver. Roger McCreary will start at corner. Chigakonkwo will be the second option in the passing game at tight end. Kyle Phillips will return punts. And I almost said Dwayne Haskins. R.I.P. to Dwayne. Hassan Haskins will essentially be the backup running back if anything should happen to Derrick Henry. And as we learned last year, sometimes they got to plan for something to happen to Derrick Henry. Malik Willis is expected to get a redshirt year for the Titans. But he could be the most important member of this draft class because he could be the quarterback of the future. Now, if you were to ask me, is Malik Willis going to be the quarterback of the future, I would tell you that I don't know. If you were to ask the Titans, is Malik Willis going to be the future of the organization? And they were to be honest with you, I think they would tell you, we don't know either. But they got to find out. Once the Titans get into the season, and it's the Giants, and it's Buffalo, and it's the Raiders, and Indy, the focus is on Tannehill, and Henry, and Byard, and Lewan, and Simmons, and right tackle, because who the hell knows is going to play that spot. It's not going to be on the third-round developmental third-string quarterback. His job in practice is going to be, here's the card. This is what Josh Allen in Buffalo likes to do. Now you go out there and you pretend you're Josh Allen. That's not, for the most part, how young quarterbacks develop into starting quarterbacks. That's how young quarterbacks follow what's written on the card. So there are 3 games in which John Robinson and Mike Vrabel have to watch Malik Willis play and then almost have to have an idea in their head of what he is or what he's going to be. Next offseason, there are going to be quarterbacks that move teams, just like this year. Baker Mayfield moved, Deshaun Watson moved, Matt Ryan moved. There are going to be guys who are possible starters, like Mariota in Atlanta or Trubisky in Pittsburgh. There's a reality that Ryan Tannehill, who has a contract the Titans can get out of easily at the end of this season, will prove that he's not ready for the prime time. And when that happens, the Titans will have one of 3 choices. Do they draft a guy in the first round in what's supposed to be a very strong quarterback draft, unlike this past year? Do they go get a veteran guy, whether it's an experienced guy who needs a change of scenery, whether it's a guy who hates his team and his coach and wants out, whether it's a superstar level guy? Do they get that guy? Or do they turn it over to Malik Willis? And if they make the choice to turn it over to Malik Willis, I think it's fair to say Mike Vrabel and John Robinson would be risking their jobs on Malik Willis. Well, I know this about risking my job. If I'm going to risk my job and I'm making the kind of money that Robinson and Vrabel are making, and I'm winning at the clip that Robinson and Vrabel are winning at, and I've got a town that wants to see my team go further, I'm going to uncover every stone before I make that decision. This allows the Titans to get that data point of Malik Willis starting in a preseason game to shape their long-term decisions. Last year at the end of the season, Kyle Shanahan did something that nobody talked about, that I thought I was stunned by, but it made sense. They mortgaged the future in San Francisco to move up into the 3rd pick of the draft and take Trey Lance. After they played here on a Thursday night right before Christmas, and Jimmy Garoppolo threw the ball away right into the arms of the Titans with 5 horrendous throws that cost them the game, it came out a day and a half later that Jimmy Garoppolo had an injured thumb. Now, again, the sports media is just like you all. They celebrate Christmas too. So there weren't a lot of talk shows on Christmas Day that was talking about how bad Jimmy Garoppolo was in that Thursday night game and about how it was obviously bullcrap that Jimmy Garoppolo had injured his thumb. But because it was a Thursday night game, the 49ers had 10 days before their next game against the Texans. Playing at home against a terrible Texan team with a young, inexperienced quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo was held out of that game because he was hurt. Trey Lance got the start for the 49ers. They won that game. Trey wasn't all that impressive. Jimmy starts the next week with their playoff lives on the line and continues into the playoffs. Why did Garoppolo sit that game? Now, I've never seen a coach do this with a good team in a regular season game, but they sat him because they wanted to see what Trey Lance had in him. Because they had mortgaged their future to be able to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo to Trey Lance. They needed to know. Just like the Titans, if they're ever going to move off of Tannehill and on to Malik Willis, they're going to need to know. Because once the decision is made, there is no going back. That's why they're going to start Malik Willis tonight. Because even though it's the first preseason game, and even though you all can say things like, oh, well, it's one game in the preseason in August, and he's very young, and that doesn't mean that what he does in this preseason game will have any effect on what it means for the future and whether or not he could be the starter next year, it's all they have to go off of. This makes sense for the Titans. I would assume that Malik Willis is probably going to start all 3 preseason games. Because even when they drafted Malik in the 3rd round, and everybody knew that Ryan Tannehill was the starting quarterback, when they drafted Malik, I said, boy, this is going to make for an excellent preseason. Like, this is awesome. You kind of knew, at least I did, kind of knew that the preseason was going to be about him. Tannehill is a known quantity, though he has impressed in training camp. But a known quantity of a 10-year starting quarterback does not play in the first preseason game anymore, although I guess Matt Ryan is. But for the most part, those guys do not play in preseason games. Logan Woodside as a backup is a known quantity. Vrabel knows that if something were to happen to Tannehill and he were to go in a game, Logan Woodside would do what Vrabel tells him to do. And I've watched Logan Woodside at training camp this year, and I'm not really impressed. Nor was I really impressed last year in the preseason. But again, he's got Vrabel's trust. So there's nothing for him to go out there tonight and earn other than just getting the work in. And again, if he goes in a game, it's probably in relief of Tannehill, so why not put him in relief of Willis? Malik Willis has to show the Titans everything because he might be the future at the position.
Is there something that Logan Woodside does well that they really value as the backup position that maybe he does better than Willis would? Is it strictly just the knowledge of the offense at this point?
I think it's the trust. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't think Logan Woodside's very good. Then again, they keep bringing in quarterbacks to compete with him, whether it's Trevor Siemian or Matt Barkley.
And he keeps winning the job, huh?
Those guys do not beat him. So, again, being reported, Malik Willis to start tonight, I think it's the right call by Vrabel. And, of course, Vrabel can easily sit down with Logan and say, hey, man, like, you're the backup. We're doing this for Malik. And he'd understand. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you have a reaction to that, get it in. 615-737-1025. But, again, Malik Willis is going to reportedly start for the Titans tonight. We'll get your thoughts on that as well. Also, big bummer news out there for the Titans. And really for me and for Titan fans, a handful of them. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
At some point, it's a combination of who did you play and what does your skill set look like.
Get the best analysis of the big stories in the sports world with ESPN's Jason Fitz.
If you reach for a quarterback in the draft because you need one, you're going to set your franchise back 5 years.
Join Fitzy every Wednesday at 4:30. Presented by Blood Assurance. Jason Fitz.
I am 5'9.5"
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
We're gearing up for a beautiful couple of days, especially given the time of year. Highs will top off in the mid to upper 80s Friday through Sunday with mainly sunny skies and low humidity. For Fox 17, I'm Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Great news, hockey players. Barani's Hockey World's annual summer clearance sale is back. Swing by one of their 3 Nashville locations for big savings on your favorite brands. August 4th through 14th at your local Barani's Hockey World.
Hey, folks, it's getting closer. NFL Week 1, and we know this because the NFL Week 1 odds are out. So now's the time to try FanDuel Sportsbook. If you haven't already, get in on the action early this season. Joe Rexford here to let you know that right now, New FanDuel Sportsbook customers can get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. And again, the NFL futures are all over the place. Lots of interesting ones. How about Derrick Henry or Jonathan Taylor to win the rushing title? I would go with Derrick Henry on that, waiting to see if Derrick Henry can stay healthy. Both of those backs should be well over 1,000 yards this year. Sign up using promo code Joe102. Place your first bet. FanDuel will give you up to $1,000 back in free bets if you don't win. There's no better place to get ready for football season than on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and official sports betting partner of the NFL. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Sign up using promo code Joe102. Get started with your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Again, promo code Joe102. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager. Only refund issued is now a drawable strike credit expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789.
I had low back pain that was due to herniated discs.
Meet Dr. Justin Garzone, another satisfied patient who found regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics.
Over a very short period of time, the pain went away completely, and I have had absolutely no symptoms or pain since my treatment.
Before Dr. Garzone found QC Kinetics, he was looking at all the old school pain treatments.
It was recommended that I have steroid injections done, but then unfortunately my insurance company said that I would have to do 3 months of physical therapy first, and I needed to get better quickly.
With QC Kinetics, the doctor got lasting relief with no downtime.
I didn't have to take any medications during my treatment. I avoided surgery, and I am now pain-free.
Don't live with chronic pain, and don't go under the knife. Call QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative medicine, for a free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024.
Chase McCabe.
My play didn't work for him, and the way he coached didn't work for me.
Willie Donick.
It's survival of the fittest.
And Derek Mason.
A win-win-win across the board.
Chase, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays from 10 to 2.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Souls for Music City, we're partnering with them to help out homeless children going to school with shoes on their feet. That's right, $20 equals a pair of shoes for a child headed back to school. And that's what we're trying to do. Text DONATE to 615-737-1025 and make a $20 donation. Again, $20 is all it takes to help out a child. That's Souls for Music City. And again, let's make a difference in the life of a child, one pair of shoes at a time. So I found this out today. I don't know if you all saw this. This was a total bummer to me. Next week, and again, tonight it's a preseason game, and I'm happy for it. But it's not as important as the practices next week against Tampa Bay. Right now, both right tackles, for instance, for the Titans, Nicholas Petit-Ferrer and Dylan Radins. And I put Petit-Ferrer ahead of Radins because I think that in the minds of the coaches, Petit-Ferrer is ahead of Radins. But those two guys are battling for the right tackle spot. They will go up against a Super Bowl caliber defensive line in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next week. But no Tom Brady. According to Coach Todd Bowles, Tom Brady is stepping away from the Buccaneers. According to Bowles, quote, Tom has been excused today. He'll be back sometime around after Tennessee. He's going to deal with some personal things. This is something we talked about before training camp started. We allotted this time because he wanted to get in and get chemistry with the guys and go through 2 weeks of training camp knowing that he wasn't going to play the first two games. He didn't want to take away reps from Blaine Gabbert and Kyle Trask as well as Ryan Griffin. As far as going into these next two games, and it's something that he needs to handle. We trust him. We talked about it. It was scheduled way before training camp, and he will not be here until after Tennessee. Now, let me say this. First off, I'm completely and totally bummed. Now, it is better because 3 years ago in 2019, before the construction on the facility, fans could come and watch Brady practice with the Buccaneers, and I thought that was awesome. Last year in Tampa, the joint practices, Brady versus the Titans, for me, being down there, it was awesome. And I was excited to see Brady. Now, again, the limits for training camp are not the same because they don't have the space they used to with the additions that the Titans have built. in their new facility. So I don't know how many fans would have been able to see Tom Brady next week anyways. But he's the greatest player who ever lived. And so anytime that I've ever gotten to watch Tom Brady, I have taken it as almost an honor. I mean, last year watching Tom Brady in practice, I was in awe. And there are a few people that I'll say that about. I'm not one of these guys that's all into professional athletes. Like, oh, my God, can you believe that guy plays for the Bengals? Whatever. But it's Tom Brady. And so Tom Brady will not be practicing against the Titans. The second thing that I think is a total bummer about this is that I wanted to see the Titans defense that was good last year and has had their moments, both good and bad, in training camp this year with Simmons and Landry and Dupree and Byard and the young secondary, Roger McCreary, Caleb Farley, guys who are going to play tonight. I want to see them go up against Tom Brady.
That would have been some good work. I mean,
I know.
That's just like super valuable, right?
Instead, it will be that crap-ass Blaine Gabbert, and he sucks.
He can make every throw that Tom can.
Sure. He sucks. You think Floyd would have said that, as he said before when Marcus got hurt in 2018 in the finale, and Blaine Gabbert win or go home, and Blaine Gabbert starting at quarterback against the Colts, and Floyd starts off the Jared and the GM program saying, hey, Blaine can make every throw we'd ask Marcus to make. Do you think Floyd would have said that about Blaine Gabbert if Tom Brady was the quarterback that he was replacing?
In a real game, probably not. No. I would hope not.
I don't know. Arians got on his high horse last year after the end of the season.
Well, maybe in a game situation would be different than a practice situation. I don't know.
I know, but Arians got all into, like, I wanted to prove that we could win with Blaine as our quarterback. And I remember thinking, man, that is some freaking good dope that's being smoked or whatever, thinking that you can win with Blaine Gabbert, because I've seen it with Blaine Gabbert. The second thing coming out of Tampa Bay practice, which, again, not all invested in Tampa Bay, but I found this to almost be offensive. Todd Bowles was on the SiriusXM NFL radio tour, and he was talking about the addition of Julio Jones and what it means to add Julio Jones to their team and why they felt like they had to do it.
Somebody's got to replace Gronk's catches, and we couldn't do that with the conglomeration we had. We don't have a tight end that can do that, so why not get another wideout, develop some different packages, a wideout that can still play and attack you differently, so we come up with some new things and we start playing ball that way. And you will miss Gronk, but what you don't see is that all the other guys can catch the football, and they'll replace his catches. There'll never be another Gronk, so we have to do other things to get that ball out and get those catches, and Julio and Darden are great options.
Yeah, and a lot of people would think of Julio as the 9 routes outside, working the boundary. Oh. But you know what I saw? I saw over the middle stuff, and and Tom changed the play. And he kind of modified. I saw Julio was trying to remember what to do, and then all of a sudden, wide open over the middle, the Gronk territory.
He's got length. He's got length. He can play outside and inside, and it's hard to find teams with 4 good corners when we got 4 good receivers. So he fills void to where we can make up for those catches.
Look, I'm not at Tampa Bay's practice. And I see all the things that everybody's saying about the Titans wide receivers based upon one tweet about Treylon Burks, and I know how ridiculous that is. Clearly, and I believe that was Pat Kerwin that was talking to Todd Bowles there, clearly they saw it at practice. If Tampa Bay thinks they're going to replace Rob Gronkowski, who, even though he wasn't the New England Gronk last year, Gronkowski was by far Brady's most trusted target in Tampa Bay after Antonio Brown. Much more trusted than Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. If they think they're going to replace Rob Gronkowski with Julio Jones, holy crap. This reminds me of last year when Adoree Jackson signed a ridiculous contract with the Giants. Remember that the Titans couldn't get Adoree Jackson out of here fast enough. They had picked up his 5th-year option, and under that CBA, the Titans were allowed to essentially release Adoree Jackson. Under the current CBA, if the 5th-year option is picked up, that player's 5th year becomes fully guaranteed. So, for example, Jeffrey Simmons' 5th year with the Titans that has been picked up is in fact fully guaranteed. Simmons can't have a bad year this year and the Titans release him. Well, the Titans released Adoree Jackson, and the Giants signed him to a huge contract. And I believe it was Mike Tannenbaum, but it might have been another former general manager. But I believe that general manager came out and said, clearly somebody got it wrong. Tennessee didn't want to pay Jackson $10 million, and the Giants are willing to pay him 13 or 14 or whatever it was. So clearly somebody screwed up. Well, that's what's going to be the case with Julio Jones here. The Buccaneers have $6 million invested in Julio. We don't know if it's guaranteed or not. He's probably going to make the team. The general manager, Jason Light, came out today and said, I've seen good things out of Julio, and has really praised him. And you heard right there that Todd Bowles is comparing him to Rob Gronkowski and talking about having 4 good receivers: Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Russell Gage, and now Julio Jones. I watched Julio last year. If Julio can make it through a game without getting hurt, I'll be shocked. But somebody's going to look smart here, and somebody's going to look dumb here, and it's either going to be the Titans are looking smart because they got rid of Julio, or the Buccaneers are going to look like geniuses for bringing him in at $6 million. And there's Brady again, just like with Antonio Brown, just like with Randy Moss, just like with insert old player that goes ring chasing for Brady and ends up being somewhat decent. Right now, Leonard Fournette is that way. But, man, is it going to break my heart if Tom Brady turns Julio Jones into a player. Because while Julio had some moments last year, an unbelievable catch off of a helmet against the Bills, he had high-volume catches in the Cincinnati playoff game, had a good game at Seattle last year. The Rob Gronkowski part of his career is over. And I thought the Titans made the right move. And if Julio Jones is that dude, people are going to be mad around here.
Do you think Julio's want to will be a little bit higher given that Brady cachet on the team there? So I saw a rep, and it looked like he put in a pretty good effort. A little sideline pass, went up, looked good, reached up for it, but he hit the ground pretty hard. And I'm thinking, well, we saw this a little bit here with Julio, and it was only a few times where he would do that, and then he would almost have to either get hurt or pull himself out of the game or pull himself out of practice. I wonder if the want to for Julio will be a little bit higher when you have Brady throwing you the ball, or if his body will just break down.
I wonder if the want to will help, considering that his career might be on the line now, that the free money's not coming anymore. 615-737-1025. Add that in there. We'll get to your phones. 615-737-1025. Titans preseason kicks off in about an hour and a half. And guess what? Malik Willis has 3 chances. That's it. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Your speaker at home is so smart that even Alexa knows where to find Nashville's best sports talk.
102.5 The Game is Nashville's best sports talk.
Ask Alexa to enable 102.5 The Game. Once enabled, ask Alexa to play 102.5 The Game.
Welcome to 102.5 The Game.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Pilgrimage Music and Cultural Festival, September 24th and 25th, with Chris Stapleton, Brandy Carlisle, the Avett Brothers. Pilgrimage Music and Cultural Festival with Chris Stapleton, Brandy Carlisle, the Avett Brothers, John Batiste, Elle King, and so many more. General admission and VIP passes on sale now at pilgrimagefestival.com.
With your home value up again, you are sitting on a pile of money. So don't let it sit there. Use it. Willie Donick here for my friends once again at Loan Pronto. Introducing Loan Pronto's Equity Line of Credit program. You don't have to refinance, but you can access up to 97% of your home's value. Get cash now to pay off all your credit cards, or do that home improvement project. Get your down payment for a new home, or stash away for a safety net. You can get $50,000, even $100,000 or more out of your home. And the payments are crazy low. Think what you could do with $100,000 right now. Loan Pronto makes unlocking your equity easy, and they can probably even waive the appraisal. Don't just let all that home equity pile up. Turn your house into an ATM machine and get the cash you need. Call Loan Pronto now. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
This is Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers. We understand that no one likes to deal with auto body repair and the inconvenience it becomes in your day-to-day life. I want to personally invite you to stop by and let our experienced staff see how we can help you make your vehicle look good as new. Apple Collision Center has 3 convenient locations, Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin, ready to serve you. Come by and see us or visit us online at applecollisioncenters.com.
Hey y'all, this is your girl Cheryl Underwood, and I want to tell you something. My digestive system used to make me feel sluggish, but those days are over. Now I feel great. That's because I increased my fiber intake with the Metamucil 2-week challenge, and I'm still hooked. I just took Metamucil every day for 14 days, and it's really that easy. Metamucil traps and removes the waste that weighs you down, so you feel lighter and more energetic. Now I never want to go back to that heavy feeling. Are you ready for the Metamucil 2-week challenge for a coupon and daily support? Sign up at Metamucil.com today.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne,
Robbie and Rex Road, Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Stillman and Company, Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushes.
Awesome Game 7. Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live, thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios, an hour and a half until the Titans kick off the 2022 season at Baltimore. And I will say this, it has been announced that Malik Willis will start at quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. And what I love about being young is that young equals excuse-making. Floyd used to always say that potential is French for not good enough. And so tonight you will see Malik Willis at quarterback for the Titans, and all we will talk about tomorrow is his potential. Because he's not going to play quarterback for this team this year. That'll be Ryan Tannehill. And he's most likely not going to back up because that'll be Logan Woodside. We've been led to believe, and I believe correctly, that right now the 2022 season is not the season for Malik Willis, but that the Titans drafted him with the possibility that he could be their starter in 2023 or 4 or 5 or beyond. Not the expectation that he would be, but the possibility. And there's a big difference between those two words. Malik Willis gets 3 games to prove to John Robinson and Mike Vrabel that he's the quarterback of the future. 3 games. It's easy. It's easy to look at today's result. Half of us don't even know what we're talking about anyways. And most of us have never evaluated quarterbacks or played quarterback or coached quarterbacks or anything quarterback in the NFL. But Malik Willis has 3 games to show the Titans what he is capable of doing. And if you don't think the Titans view that the same way, you do not understand the NFL. Starting on September 1st, the Titans' focus will be on the 2022 season. This is a team that was the top seed in the AFC a year ago. It was a team that has won their division 2 years in a row. They have multiple Pro Bowlers on both sides of the ball, arguably the best running back in the NFL, arguably the second best defensive tackle in the NFL, a star safety, and the reigning coach of the year. They play the Buffalo Bills, the Super Bowl favorite, in Week 2. The time for potential is over as of September 1st. When they practice next week against Tampa Bay, yeah, I'm bummed out that Tom Brady won't be a part of it, but that will be Ryan Tannehill time. That will be a 2-minute drill. Let's see Tannehill against the Buccaneers defense. When they practice against the Arizona Cardinals, yeah, Willis will get some reps and Woodside will get some reps. But again, that will be Ryan Tannehill time. When they play a preseason game at Nissan Stadium against those teams, that is Malik Willis time. Malik gets 3. He gets 3 preseason games to make the Titans believe that he is their future at quarterback. It's easy when somebody is young to overlook a mistake and say, what are they supposed to do? They're immature. They're not there yet. They're not supposed to be. But with certain things in life, the clock speeds up real fast. The NFL is a multi-billion-dollar business. Quarterback is the second most important position in any organization outside of owner. And because the Packers don't have an owner, it is the most important position in that organization. Doesn't take long to know if somebody is good or not. It takes a while to find out if they can be consistently good, but bad shows itself real quickly. Speaking of the Packers, just ask them about Jordan Love. He's made 1 career start. So Malik gets 3 games. He's going to start tonight against the Ravens. And while he'll go out there and he'll make some rookie mistakes, and if what he does in practice is going to be what he does tonight, if that's the case, you're going to see balls thrown behind receivers, maybe a ball thrown over a receiver's head, maybe a ball thrown in the dirt, maybe a fumbled snap, certain things that we've seen. You're also going to see some passes that look like big-time NFL throws. You're going to see that cannon arm. You're going to see Malik Willis take off. He slides very well. It's very natural to him, unlike Tannehill, who in 10 years has not learned how to slide in the NFL. It is very natural to Willis. You will see that tonight. But will it be enough? Will the improvement from game 1? He's not going to be perfect, and the Titans don't expect him to be perfect tonight. Will the improvement from game 1 to game 2 be enough? Will the improvement from game 1 to game 3 be enough? Because once the Titans are done with training camp, and once the Titans are done with the preseason, for the most part, their feelings on Malik Willis will have been made. The Carolina Panthers picked Cam Newton first overall in the 2011 NFL draft. But people forget, they took a flyer early in the draft, I believe the second round, on Jimmy Clausen. After 1 year, they knew Jimmy Clausen wasn't very good. And they drafted Cam Newton. The Arizona Cardinals in 2018, in the same draft class that produced Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, the Arizona Cardinals drafted Josh Rosen. Josh Rosen has now played for Arizona, Miami, Atlanta, and is now on the Cleveland Browns. 4 teams in 4 years. I'm not even sure if Josh Rosen has made 4 NFL starts. Arizona made up their mind after year 1. They fired the coach, and they went out and they got Kyler Murray. The Titans very easily could make up their mind on Malik Willis after 3 games. So while we've led everybody to believe, and I think that this is fair, that the expectation should not be for Malik to play right away, it doesn't mean that what Malik does tonight doesn't matter. It does. I wonder how Malik feels about this. Malik's going to be starting an NFL preseason game. He knows the expectations for him are not to start for the Titans this season. But I wonder if Malik Willis knows this is a league that doesn't give out a lot of chances. This is a league that once the league decides you can't play quarterback, you don't get another crack at it. So with that, no pressure. Good luck to Malik. I will say this. I do wonder what Mike Vrabel's expectation is for Malik Willis, and he will not tell you. And he will not tell us. but I do wonder what Vrabel truly expects out of Willis. I went back and looked at my notes today because I am interested in the guys that Willis has been throwing the football to. And I do know who's going to play tonight at receiver. Basically, Nick Westbrook-Akina and Robert Woods are out, and everybody else is probably in. Traylon Burks is going to be in there tonight. Racey McMath's going to be in there tonight. Kyle Phillips is going to be in there tonight. Des Fitzpatrick, Mason Kinsey, Cody Hollister, Josh Malone, Reggie Roberson, who's actually made some good plays. Terry Godwin, Terry Godwin's made some catches in training camp where I've been kind of standing close to John Robinson, and Terry Godwin's made a catch, and I have felt like John Robinson thought those were big-time catches. So I don't know who Malik's going to be thrown to tonight, but I do wonder what the expectation is given the lack of what they've really given him in practice. And developmental quarterbacks in practice are odd from this standpoint. Floyd used to always tell us that if a team had a veteran quarterback, then they could develop a younger backup quarterback because the veteran quarterback didn't need all the practice reps that week. If the team had a young quarterback like Marcus Mariota, then they needed to have Matt Castle, a veteran, as the backup because Matt Castle doesn't need practice reps to be able to get on the football field and play. That said, I think Ryan Tannehill, come the start of the season, I think Ryan Tannehill needs the practice reps, which means Todd Downing, once they turn the calendars to September and they get ready for those crap Giants in 1 month, Todd Downing's focus is not going to be on Malik Willis. Mike Vrabel's focus is not going to be on Malik Willis. John Robinson's focus is not going to be on Malik Willis. It's going to be on Ryan Tannehill. When he came out and had those infamous comments about mentoring Malik Willis, which I didn't have a problem with at all, I said, that's not Tannehill's job. Tannehill's job is to go out and beat the Indianapolis Colts. That's his job. It's not Todd Downing's job in the season to worry about Malik Willis. It's Todd Downing's job to get the offense ready to go beat the Colts or beat the Jags or beat the Texans or beat the Ravens. So Malik's got 3 games. That's it. How many games did Josh Rosen get with Arizona before they made up their mind on him? How many games? Malik's got 3. He will start tonight, and I assume that he will start the other 2. So good luck. No pressure. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll get your thoughts in on this. Malik Willis making his first career NFL appearance in any kind of game, and I think it's a big one. I think it's a big one. I know Vrabel's not going up to him and psyching him out and saying, hey, Malik, you got 3 cracks at this. And if you don't show us enough, our college scouts will be at Ohio State practice. They will be watching Will Levis at Kentucky. Because if we don't think you're going to be a starting quarterback, we have to move on. Vrabel's not going to say that. But that doesn't mean that that's not reality. 615-737-1025. I did look at who Malik has thrown the ball to in practice. It might give us an indication of who he's going to throw the ball to tonight, or might set up for something that I could see being a significant problem with the Titans. We'll get to that coming up next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5 The Game and 106.3.
Let's put the green flag in the air and turn them loose.
Nashville's home for NASCAR.
He's going to try to make a big move here.
It's brought to you by the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. We are your racing station.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
At the law office of Amanda J. Gentry, we are committed to defending your rights. Being arrested doesn't have to be the worst day of your life. Being served with custody paperwork doesn't have to be the worst day of your life. It may feel that way, but if you have Amanda J. Gentry representing you, you can feel confident that you're going to have the best quality representation in all of Middle Tennessee. Amanda J. Gentry goes wherever justice demands. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
Don't be surprised this week to see other jewelry store owners shopping at Genesis Diamonds. They'll be taking advantage of Genesis' most aggressive offer ever. All GIA diamond engagement rings marked down an extra 20% below Genesis' everyday price.
That's right. The vault is open, and we're selling the finest handcrafted diamond rings at rock bottom prices. Now for a very limited time.
The GIA is the world standard in diamond grading, certifying accuracy and documenting quality so you can buy with confidence.
Every Genesis engagement ring is included in this event, from a half carat up to 20 carat stones, all shapes, rounds, princess cuts, emerald cuts, cushion cuts, ovals.
There has never been a better time to get an extreme value price on a GIA certified diamond, perfectly set in a gorgeous engagement ring. Hurry in for best selection. It's Genesis Diamonds GIA Diamond Extravaganza.
Save an extra 20% on these rare, precious diamond rings, now for a limited time. One per customer, please.
Exclusively at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
312 Pizza Company is Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria, and they're now hiring. Work for a family-owned business and be a part of their incredible team. 312 Pizza Company is hiring for all positions, including host, waitstaff, bartenders, cooks, and more. 312 Pizza Company offers health insurance and paid time off to full-time employees. Contact Kimberly at 615-730-7888 or email at contact@312pizzaco.com. 312 is an equal opportunity employer.
Oh, are you seeing these readings? This is incredible.
Short-staffed, Marco's Climate Research Facility is in the eye of the storm. The atmospheric pressure to find more weather specialists is mounting.
Man, this is going to be a big job. We're going to need a bigger team.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Never miss a moment of the show.
What is this? Check it out.
Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
I'm at least doing some good things. He had a good spring. I think that he's articulating the play well in the huddle, which, I don't know how much he had to do a whole lot of that at Liberty with an up-tempo offense. So that's one thing that a quarterback, a lot of these up-tempo teams, when they don't have to hear a play, get in the huddle, call a play, that's new for him. And, he's done a good job of that. I think the overall decision-making that he's, kind of progressed through and the decisions that he's made have been the right ones. It's about, just a little quicker on the timing, pull the trigger a little quicker here, or, make this, go with the ball over here, just a little quicker with the decision-making process. But he's athletic. He's good with the ball in his hands. He's got a really strong arm. He's made some really good throws. I think the 7-on-7 stuff has been probably more of his, his more impressive periods, if you will.
There you go. That was John Robinson on the SiriusXM NFL Training Camp Tour talking about Malik Willis. And again, sounds encouraging, but John Robinson is not going to deal the cards out and say, hey, look at my hand, guys. If he doesn't do this, this, or this, then I'll be looking for another quarterback in next year's draft. Or I'll be looking to see when I decide to move on from Tannehill who's unhappy, and maybe I'll get that guy in here. Baker Mayfield, you name it. So I have been to 8 of the 10 practices that the Titans have had, and I went over who Malik Willis was throwing the ball to. Now, again, this is incomplete data because I missed 2 of the practices. But I think it gives us a good idea because tonight I believe this is who I believe will be out there for the Titans. Now, I don't know if Malik's going to start and play the first half and then Logan will come in the second half, or as TD suggested earlier today, that Malik Willis would play the first quarter and then Logan the second and Malik the third and Logan the fourth, or if, like last year, I think it was Matt Barkley would get 2 series and then Logan Woodside would get a couple of series. I don't know how they're going to do it. But here's who realistically is going to be on the field for the Titans. Treylon Burks, Racey McMath, Kyle Phillips, Des Fitzpatrick, Mason Kinsey, Cody Hollister, Josh Malone, Reggie Robertson, and Terry Godwin. At tight end, Chig Okonkwo, Briley Moore, Tommy Hudson, and Thomas Odukuyoya. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce his last name. He's from the Netherlands. He is their international player. And so, anywho, this is just from my notes of who Malik Willis has been throwing the football to. And I was a little surprised by this because the number one guy on the list is a wide receiver by the name of Brandon Lewis, number 84. Now, I mean, Brandon Lewis is not going to make the Titans. But I do wonder, in the 8 practices that I've charted, Brandon Lewis has caught or been thrown to 7 times by Malik Willis. Racey McMath, who will play tonight and has had a very impressive camp, Macy McMath is second with 5. Meanwhile, Josh Malone, Reggie Robertson, and the tight end from the Netherlands, number 49, they've all been thrown to 3 times by Malik Willis. And all of those guys will play. Malone will play, Robertson will play, and the tight end from the Netherlands will play. Mason Kinsey, Briley Moore, and Terry Godwin have all been thrown to 3 times by Malik Willis. Traylon Burks has been thrown to 2 times. And according to my notes, Robert Woods, who's not going to play tonight, Des Fitzpatrick, Tommy Hudson, who came back from an injury, Hassan Haskins, Julius Chestnut, and Kyle Phillips have all caught 1 pass from Malik Willis. Now, here's the one thing that would concern me a little bit, is that now they've been moving these guys around a lot. Phillips was starting more on the second, third team. Now he's getting more reps with Tannehill, and they've really moved guys in and out with Tannehill. Outside of Woods, who pretty much has primarily been working with Tannehill, Hooper primarily with Tannehill, Westbrook-Akina has worked some with Woodside, but primarily with Tannehill in practice. Here's what would worry me, though. I think the Titans want Traylon Burks to play a lot because I believe they look at today as an opportunity to work on Traylon Burks' conditioning, especially his game conditioning, and especially the kind of thing that they can say, hey, this is why you need to get in better shape. Or, you know what? When the lights come on, just like he did at Arkansas, Traylon Burks is a bad man. But if in practice, in 7-on-7 or 11-on-11, Malik Willis, who, as that clip we just played, John Robinson says, has a timing issue of getting the ball out, if he's only thrown 2 passes to Traylon Burks, how worried should we be that Malik might put the ball in harm's way? Malik has made progress. I know this, TD gets mad every time I say this. Malik, for the most part, kind of stinks right now. He would not be ready to help the Titans in a real game. If something happened to Tannehill and Malik had to go out there, the Titans would be in serious trouble. Now, he has gotten better, but the reality of what he is as a player is pretty basic to me. So what I say with this is he throws guys into danger. And about a week and a half ago, I remember talking on the sidelines and thinking, and I'm sure I shared it here on the show, that I was worried that they would not be able to play Malik Willis in this game because of the possibility that Malik Willis could get somebody hurt. Because those Ravens players that are going to be playing tonight, they're second, third team guys. They're trying to make the team. Just like the guys on offense that, for the most part, outside of Burks and Okonkwo and Phillips, those guys will be trying to make the team. This is kind of the same way with Malik and with the Ravens defensive players. And those guys, they get geared up and jazzed up and they go after and they are trying to make a tackle. And I don't want anything to happen to Chig Okonkwo. And I don't want anything to happen to those guys on the Titans as they're trying to get those players in shape while getting Malik the opportunities in the preseason. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to weigh in. Texter into the text line. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Texter says, if Willis and Woodside are neck and neck, are a neck and neck tie, who do they keep, assuming they only keep 2 quarterbacks? I think there's 2 things that I disagree with the premise of that text. First off, I don't think it's neck and neck. I think Woodside is truly ahead of Willis. Don't let today and the fact that Malik Willis is going to start, don't let that dissuade you from what I've been telling you, which is Logan Woodside is the backup quarterback of the Titans. As I just said 20 seconds ago, Malik Willis is not ready to play in an NFL game right now, a real NFL game. Logan Woodside is. The Titans have gone into back-to-back playoff games against the Ravens and Bengals with a legitimate possibility that happens all the time in the NFL that Logan Woodside would have to go in that game. Malik Willis is not ready for that. So I disagree with the premise of the question about if it's a neck-and-neck tie, because I don't think it is a neck-and-neck tie. I think the Titans have been planning on keeping 3 quarterbacks. I think the Titans will keep 3 quarterbacks, and I think Willis will be the 3rd guy. And I think it's good because Willis on the scout team will give them an added element to prepare for a guy like Josh Allen or Dak Prescott or whomever comes up this season that maybe Logan Woodside didn't give them. But it's not a neck-and-neck tie, and the assumption that they would keep 2 quarterbacks, I don't agree with. Because I think the Titans, when they drafted Willis, decided that they were going to keep 3 quarterbacks. Texter into the text line says, let's say Malik goes out there and makes plenty of mistakes, but gets crazy with 4 touchdowns by running or passing, and the Titans stomp the Ravens. Would he be the backup even though he made a lot of mistakes? No. I don't think the Titans look at that. Outside of, and again, the COVID protocols are gone in the NFL and all the testing is gone in the NFL, but it would have to be something like what happened to the Saints last year where Ian Book ended up quarterbacking a game on Monday Night Football. I just don't see Malik Willis taking a meaningful snap for this team this year. Bill Polian had talked about when they drafted him about being kind of a running option. Vince Young did some of this when Kerry Collins was the starter ahead of him in 2006. I do not believe the Titans will do that with Malik. I do not believe Malik will be active. And even if Malik plays well, from what I've seen in practice, I still don't think the Titans would trust Malik Willis in that regard. Adam in Portland is up next here on the program, 615-737-1025. What's up, Adam? Go ahead.
Yeah, the only problem I have with what you're saying, Jared, and you touched on it a little, is Vince. Like Vince, I'm not a Vince guy, never really was, but he played well when the Titans sucked because he had a lot of natural ability and people hadn't seen him yet. So I think if he had to be thrust into a game, he's been doing this his whole life, and that's the reason people were considering him a first-round pick. It's because he has a lot of natural ability. So I know he doesn't practice well. Vince did not practice well. I think he could still make a play if he had to. I think there's a lot of natural ability that you aren't able to see in practice that he would take to a game.
I mean, he's got natural ability. I've seen that in practice. I appreciate your call, Adam. I've seen the natural ability. It's there. You're going to see it tonight. There is legitimate natural ability with Malik Willis. But just because a bunch of draft gurus talked about could he go in the first round does not mean that he was a first-round talent, because no NFL team was interested in taking Malik Willis in the first round. The Titans had 2 opportunities to take Malik Willis in the first round. They passed on both of them. They had an opportunity in the second round to take Malik Willis. They passed on him. They drafted Roger McCreary. They had an opportunity in the third round before they drafted him to draft Malik Willis. They drafted Nicholas Petit-Ferrer. The Seattle Seahawks don't have a quarterback, and they were not interested in drafting Malik Willis. So the idea of he's got that natural talent just like Vince Young, Jared. First off, Vince Young did not have a good NFL career. Secondly, Vince Young was the 3rd overall pick in the draft. I contend, pound for pound, the 3 most, and I'm talking about God-given ability, the 3 most talented Titans, just naturally talented, get out of bed, play football Titans, are Javon Curse, Vince Young, and Chris Johnson. And I think Jeffrey Simmons is probably 4th in terms of just pure, raw, God-given talent. No disrespect to Malik, that ain't Vince Young. Now, he might be better than Vince Young, because so much of the position is mental and so much of the position is leadership and the intangibles. And Vince didn't have those. And Vince had a coach who didn't want him, and Vince had a coach who didn't like him, and Vince had a coach who thought he could just kick everybody else to the curb and would later become the laughingstock of the NFL because he sucked so bad. Not Vince, Jeff Fisher, I'm talking about. And Malik doesn't have that. So maybe that will help Malik. But no, this idea. Vince Young on natural ability won something like, his record as the Titan starter was like 38-19. Malik does not have that natural ability. Malik's going to have to get there. 615-737-1025 is the phone number, 615-737-1025. Who is playing for what? I will tell you right now who I am convinced has made the Titans. I will also tell you who I think has a really good shot at making this team, and I will tell you the guys tonight who are going to play that are on the outside looking in. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey, Preds fans.
Sliding across to make the save is Sarah.
You can now hear Nashville's best sports talk.
The backhander, he scores!
And every Predators game on 106.3 FM.
Oh, that was a thing of beauty.
From downtown Nashville to Rutherford and Williamson counties.
Duchesne with the overtime winner.
Catch all the action on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Red Hot Chili Peppers are back. Anthony, Chad, Flea, and John live on stage. World Tour 2022 with very special guests, The Strokes and Thundercat. This Friday at Nissan Stadium. Get tickets now at Ticketmaster.com. Check more at RedHotChiliPeppers.com.
Hey, football fans, Dak Prescott here. And I'm here to tell you that with NFL Sunday Ticket only on DirecTV, you can watch your favorite team no matter where you live. Because NFL Sunday Ticket gives you every live out-of-market game every Sunday afternoon. So switch to DirecTV and learn how to get the 2022 NFL Sunday Ticket season included at no extra cost. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
With choice package and above, 24-month agreement required. Call for details.
Join 102.5 The Game, Brentwood Fire and Police, the Williamson County Sheriff's Department, and the Nolensville Fire and Rescue for the 9th Annual Williamson County Battle of the Badges Blood Drive, Wednesday, August 17th from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the Brentwood Library on Concord Road. This year's blood drive will be in memory of Williamson County Deputy Chandler Rowe. Support the 9th Annual Williamson County Battle of the Badges Blood Drive, Wednesday, August 17th, sponsored by B.L. Harbert International.
It's a fact. Guys hate going to the doctor. But when it comes to erectile dysfunction and low testosterone issues, men from all over Middle Tennessee have been thrilled seeing Dr. Alderson and their providers at the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Men all the way up to 95 years old have jump-started their sex drive and energy levels. Lots of men suffer with ED for years, but now they're able to enjoy sex again. Tom from Nashville said, "The Tennessee Men's Clinic has changed my life. I have been able to be intimate with my wife for the first time in 5 years. She thought this problem was because of her, but the pills never worked for me. I had given up until I went to the clinic and realized there were more options for erectile dysfunction. Now I'm happy and my wife is happy. A visit for only $99, and that includes all testing, including a PSA and testosterone test. Give the guys at the clinic a call at 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090. Or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments, extra, results vary.
Race fans, Nashville's legendary racetrack, the Fairgrounds Speedway, features their back-to-school family night coming up August 13th. Awesome racing action with the Pro Late Model 100, the Outlaws, limited late models, street stocks, pure stocks, front runners, legends, and bandoleros. Get your tickets today at NashvilleFairgroundsSpeedway.racing and experience local racing's best at Nashville's legendary track. Get your tickets today. That's NashvilleFairgroundsSpeedway.racing.
Saturday night.
And there he goes. Tony Pollard. Jets are on. Touchdown, Dallas.
America's team heads to the Mile High City as the Cowboys take on the Broncos in NFL preseason action.
Touchdown. Diving catch, Cortland Sutton.
Coverage begins begins at 7:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
What's happening in Nashville? This is Scott Van Pelt. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Derek, doesn't get a whole lot of reps out here in training camp, so gives those other guys a big opportunity to step in, get a lot more reps, and we can really see what they can do. Dontrell is a guy who came in, like you mentioned, last year, did some good things for us, and seeing that role, expanding a little bit, and he's making plays in the run game, he's making plays in the pass game. He has that feel that we can split him out and get a good matchup outside with him. You mentioned Haskins, a guy who's big, physical. Julius, an undrafted guy. Yeah, Julius Chestnut, guy who's impressed me. He's running hard. He's making plays. He's got some shiftiness, but he's got that low center of gravity and size too. So it's a competitive room, and looking forward to see how it all shakes out.
There you go, Ryan Tannehill talking about the wide receiving or the running back room. Apparently, Tannehill has now become a talent evaluator, breaking down all the running backs, and you will see, I would assume, all of them tonight except maybe Dontrell Hilliard. But you will see Hassan Haskins, you will see Trenton Cannon, you will see Jordan Wilkins, you will see Julius Chestnut. So, I have in front of me what I consider to be the 41 locks to make the roster. That after 2 weeks of training camp, guys that have spots that will be on the Titans next year. Then I have another category, which I used a black pen for that, a red pen for guys that I think have a really good chance, and then a blue pen for guys that I think may be playing and they have an outside chance to figure their way onto the roster. So I'll go over the locks first. These are the guys that are on the Titans and will be on the roster, and even if they fumble 6 times tonight against the Ravens, they're going to be on the team. Ryan Tannehill, Malik Willis, Logan Woodside, 3 locks at quarterback. Running back, Derrick Henry, Dontrell Hilliard, and Hassan Haskins are locks. I believe Trenton Cannon, as a kick returner, has a good chance to make the team. Torrey Carter, as a fullback and special teamer, has a good chance to make the team. And Jordan Wilkins and Julius Chestnut have outside chances to make the team. Chestnut, I think, he's a big, kind of thick running back. Kind of like Wendell White maybe, but not as tall and not as good of a college player. Chestnut, I think, will be the guy who a lot of you have never heard of, who after tonight you will say, hey, Chestnut, he ran the ball pretty well. I think he's got an outside chance to make the team. I think Chestnut, though, has potential to be a practice squad player this year. And as we learned with the Titans using 91 players last year, the practice squad's pretty important. Wide receiver. Last year, the Titans' official roster to start the season had 7 wide receivers on it. Right now, I've got 5 locks. Traylon Burks, Robert Woods, Nick Westbrook-Akina, Racey McMath, and Kyle Phillips. The hardest decision that I had to make on this exercise of guys who had good chances or outside chances was what to do about Dez Fitzpatrick. They have been so complimentary of Dez Fitzpatrick, and Dez Fitzpatrick will play a lot tonight. They have been so complimentary of Dez Fitzpatrick. They gave him an offseason Player of the Year award. They talked about his maturity. They talked about how he responded to adversity last year after having a horrendous training camp and being released and being on the practice squad and what he did in practice on the show team. But he hasn't done anything to really separate in camp. Where McMath has, he hasn't. And it's tough for me to say good chance, but just because they love him, I'll say good chance for Dez Fitzpatrick, which would be 6. That would leave 1 spot for Mason Kinsey, Cody Hollister, Josh Malone, Reggie Robertson, or Terry Godwin. And right now, all those guys are kind of equal. Kinsey, I think, goes back to the practice squad where he's lived the last couple of years as a backup to Phillips, punt returner, slot guy. I don't think that they would need 2 of those guys on the roster. I think that's a little redundant. But I think all these guys are kind of battling the same. Josh Malone doesn't really play special teams. Reggie Robertson does. But I think they can get those guys on the practice squad. Tight end, 3 locks. Austin Hooper, Chika Okonkwo, Jeff Swaim, and maybe Tommy Hudson makes the team. He's got an outside chance. Or Briley Moore makes the team outside chance. But again, those are your 3 tight ends, Hooper, Okonkwo, and Swaim. Offensive line. Last year, they carried 8 guys on the offensive line to start the regular season. This year, I've got 6 locks. Taylor Lewan, Aaron Brewer, Ben Jones, Nate Davis, Dylan Radins, and Nicholas Petit-Ferrer. And I believe right now, and both Petit-Ferrer and Radins are going to play tonight, I would assume, I think Petit-Ferrer has a leg up on Radins, but they'll both make the roster. Jamarco Jones, who they brought in to compete at left guard, and they say is competing at left guard, though I don't think he's competing at left guard. Jamarco Jones has a good chance to make the team, as does Corey Levin, who's been a backup guard/center for eons for this organization. I think he's got a good chance to make the team as well. And I'm going to put Jordan Roos on the list as a guy. He's a guard, 70, I think. I'm going to put him on there as a good chance to make the team, because John Robinson was asked last week about the offensive line battles and mentioned Roos as a possible guard candidate. And I don't think John Robinson is mentioning the guys who have no chance to make the team. I also put Jalen McKenzie, an tackle from USC, undrafted free agent. He's got an outside chance to make the team because he's an athletic tackle, but I'm not sure I see it. Defensive line, 4 locks. Last year they carried 5. 4 locks. Jeffrey Simmons, Danico Autry, Tierre Tart, and Naquan Jones. DeMarcus Walker, who I've never heard of until this year, has impressed in training camp. I think he's got a good chance to make the team. And then there's Deshaun Hand and Laurel Murchison, who have outside chances. I'll be honest, Murchison, a draft pick in 2020, has been on the team the last 2 years. I'm not sure Murchison's going to make this team. He's been injured off and on, and honestly, he just really hasn't made any freaking plays. So I think that he may be getting passed up. Outside linebacker, I have 4 locks and nobody competing. Bud Dupree, Harold Landry, Rashad Weaver, and Ola Adaney. Those 4 guys will make the team. Those 4 guys, there's nobody else that I think will make the team at outside linebacker. Inside linebacker, they've got 2 locks. Zach Cunningham and David Long Jr., those guys will start. 3 guys I think have a good chance to make the team. Dylan Cole, who's a Vrabel Texan guy and was a special teamer last year on and off the roster. Joe Jones, who has impressed in practice and hunts the football. And I was listening to Jeffrey Simmons talk about how a focus for the defense has been about forcing turnovers. The talk of, yeah, we got 9 sacks against Cincinnati, but we didn't force any turnovers from the quarterback off those 9 sacks. So it's obviously been talked about a lot. Joe Jones just keeps showing up in practice. I think Vrabel really likes him. And because they've got Monty Rice on the PUP list, I could see Joe Jones making the team. Watch out for Joe Jones tonight. Be thinking that name, and you're going to hear about linebacker Joe Jones. You're going to say, oh, Jared was talking about him. Chance Campbell, I think, has got a good chance. He was a draft pick. TD likes him. I don't know anybody else who does, but I think he could make the team. And then there's a kid named Gibbons who's out there who makes some plays every here and there. He's got an outside chance to make the team. Corner. Last year they carried 7 corners, and they carried 6 safeties. They carried 13 defensive backs. Right now I've got 8 locks in the defensive backfield. Caleb Farley, Christian Fulton, Elijah Molden, Roger McCreary, Chris Jackson, Kevin Byard, Amani Hooker, and A.J. Moore. A.J. Moore was a special teamer they picked up from the Texans. That's 8. I believe Greg Maben will make this team. Boy, Greg Maben, I mean, he every year just shows back up on the Titans. I think he's got a good chance to make the team. I think Josh Kalu, who was away last year, I think Josh Kalu has a chance to make this team, a good chance. Vrabel loves him, special teamer. Remember, he blocked the kick against the Chiefs in 2019, and I want to say he returned a kick for a touchdown against the Colts in 2019 as well as a special teamer. I think he's got a good chance to make the team. I also think Theo Jackson, the rookie out of Tennessee, he hasn't done anything that I've noticed in training camp. I haven't seen anything that Theo Jackson has done in training camp. But because he was a draft pick, I'll give him a good chance. And Shakur Brown is a corner who I've never heard of, who they signed, I think, the day after training camp started, and he just keeps getting +1s.
Did you mention Chris Jackson?
I did make. He's a lock.
He's a lock? Okay. Just want to make sure. He's been that swing kind of fringe guy. I just want to make sure he's still on there.
Oh, he's still on there. And not only that, he would have been on there even if Buster Skrine hadn't retired. but I see why they really wanted Buster Screen on this team this year. Special teamers here now. This is debatable. I have 3 locks: Reggie Bullock, Brett Kern, and Morgan Cox. Now, there's 3 roster spots there that are for sure locks, because if Ryan Stonehouse, who's going to punt tonight with Brett Kern, if Ryan Stonehouse beats out Brett Kern, they still have a punter on the roster. Paul Kaharski wrote about this. It's been discussed that they could have him. I just don't see. I do not see Brett Kern losing the punting job. Now, I know he's not the best punter in the league anymore, but there's certain things he does with that football in big moments. And I know that Stonehouse might have a bigger leg, but I'm not ready to give up on Brett Kern. So I think Kern, Bullock, and Morgan Cox make the roster. That's 41 locks. Everybody else is playing for a spot. Now, once I factor in the guys who have a good chance to make the team, then it gets really close where there may be 1 or 2, there may be a couple of spots only up for grabs. It reminds me of when we used to do Floyd's 53-man roster, and I remember one time we had a 53-man roster, and I said, Floyd, and he was like, that's my 53-man roster. And I said, you got 49. And he said, but you can put whoever else you want on there. I got the 49 guys that belong in the NFL. So that's kind of how I feel about the guys who are going to make the team, and then the guys who have a good chance to make the team. Those are the guys that belong in the NFL. 615-737-1025. There are odds you can bet tonight's game, and I'm going to tell you what to do. They tell you what to bet, plus your phone call, Stillman & Company, 615-737-1025, right here on the program. Let me tell you about this great date night opportunity that I love to tell everybody about. That's right. You have a chance to win a pair of tickets to see Michael Bublé at Bridgestone Arena on August 16th. Plus, you can qualify to win Davidoff Cigar, Blend Bar, Cocktail, and gift card. Tune in to Chase, Willie, and D-Mace tomorrow during the noon hour. Caroline and Big Joe will have your chance to win. Brought to you by Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars.
Join Chase McCabe for Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8 for all the news in the world of motorsports.
Joey Logano gets the very first victory in the next-gen car
while hearing from the big names.
Two-time champion Kyle Busch.
Being able to bring NASCAR, the Cup Series, back to Nashville is cool.
It's Chasing Checkers, presented by Apple Collision Centers and the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
We're gearing up for a beautiful couple of days, especially given the time of year. Highs will top off in the mid to upper 80s Friday through Sunday with mainly sunny skies and low humidity. For Fox 17, I'm Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
33 hours of savings this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at Electronic Express. These deals are so hot, they only last 33 hours. Get a Hisense 65-inch 4K TV for just $399 or a JBL Bluetooth speaker for just $99. Save up to 50% on 4K TVs, computers, housewares, appliances, and more. Don't miss out on a Samsung Galaxy Watch 4 for $229 or a Medea laundry pair for just $399 each. Now through Saturday, shop online or at all Electronic Express locations.
Are you sick and tired of constant pain in your knees, hips, or back? Especially this time of the year. You need to be moving pain-free, right? Hey, Willie Donick here for the team at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is helping people every day, giving them lasting pain relief using the latest advances in regenerative medicine. The science is simple. They concentrate your own body's healing agents and apply them to your aching joints, restoring and repairing the damaged tissue. No drugs, no steroids, no surgery. The old remedies for pain are not the only remedies. You need to learn more about how regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics can change your life. Make this the last summer you suffer from chronic pain. They've got clinics here and all over America. This is the exciting new, natural way to deal with joint pain. No side effects, no downtime. So call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Robbie Stanley.
They get a lead in that game and just totally close the door.
Joe Rexrode.
If he plays next year, it's disastrous.
Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
What goes into, Mike, I guess, decision on maybe who needs work in preseason games, who maybe you hold back, and when do you finally make decisions on some guys?
I mean, those are probably determined already. I think you just try to evaluate what's been going on at practice, who's had some of the situations, who's had, first, second down, third work, who third down, 2 minute, who I feel like is, gotten a lot of work in, and there'll be some guys that don't play in the game, and hopefully there'll be a lot of guys that need that opportunity to kind of help themselves, help define roles, and show us that they're ready to help us out.
I would love to know how Mike Vrabel decides who plays and who doesn't, because certain guys play for different reasons. Some guys will play tonight who have absolutely no chance of making this football team. Some guys will play because they are trying to evaluate to see if that guy can make this team. And some guys are going to play because they need the work. Traylon Burks will play tonight. Caleb Farley will play tonight. Racey McMath will play tonight. Those guys have all made the football team. Now, I do want to say this. I don't want anybody to be mad at me for doing this. Because, again, I know a lot of people get mad. I'm kind of just at the point in my life where I've had enough people mad at me. And so I would say that this is cold takes happen. Maybe this will. The Baltimore Ravens have won 19 straight preseason games. Now, I'm not sure who really gives a crap about that. For the most part, I'm not somebody who does. I truly do not care if the Titans win or not. Whether or not they win the game, whatever. Do that on your own time. But here's something wild about the preseason. Excuse me. The Ravens have won 20 straight preseason games dating back to 2016. Just to put that in perspective, the 2016 Titans preseason game against the San Diego Chargers featured Derrick Henry as the star of the game. That's how long ago it was. The Ravens have won 20 straight preseason games. Their 20-game win streak has surpassed the Green Bay Packers' 19-game win streak from 1959 to 1962 as the longest preseason winning streak in NFL history. That is from Adam Schefter, who I guess went and dug that up. Earlier today, I looked at it on FanDuel. I don't know why, but I looked at it on FanDuel, and the Ravens were 3-point favorites tonight. The line has now shifted to 3.5. Take the Ravens. And I know people are going to get mad about this. They think I'm going to pick against the Titans. This happens in six-pack picks on Fridays before Titans games, like last year when I picked the Jets to beat the Dodgers. You are such a hater. You are a shock jock, Jared. You are – no. I picked the Jets because I thought the Jets were going to win. clearly the Ravens care about winning in the preseason. I'm sure they don't care that much, but they clearly care in the fourth quarter. Or John Harbaugh values the fourth quarter of these preseason games for his second-string guys more than other coaches. Winning 20 preseason games in a row is not an accident. And Mike Vrabel is 4-7 or something like that in his career in the preseason. The Titans sent out a game release, and the game release has what a win would mean. And I think it was like what a win would mean. And normally for a regular season game, it would mean that the Titans improved to first place in the AFC South, that Mike Vrabel improves to 57-38-1 as a head coach, that Ryan Tannehill has now beaten every NFC opponent, it's stuff like that. The what a win would mean for the Titans in their game release this week was, I think, and I'm not looking it up right now, but something along the lines of it would make Mike Vrabel 5-7 in his career as a coach in the preseason, and it would be the first preseason victory for the Titans over the Ravens in franchise history. So that doesn't really matter. So again, you can bet this. You can bet it. The Ravens are 3.5-point favorites, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think Malik is going to play a lot tonight. Malik Willis is going to start. And just what I've seen at practice, I'm not convinced that Malik is totally ready to play in an NFL game. And I know that this is not an a game where he's playing against NFL starters, but it is still an NFL game. And I am not totally convinced Malik is ready for that. So, again, on FanDuel, I don't know what the numbers are in other places, but the number for tonight's game, according to the FanDuel Sportsbook app, which is my official sportsbook app, the number is Baltimore minus 3.5. I would lay the 3.5 for the Ravens.
It's pretty crazy. The Ravens haven't lost a preseason game since September 3rd, 2015.
I didn't even know we played games on September 3rd, 2015. I mean, think about that. September of 2015, Marcus Mariota was a rookie. The last time the Ravens lost a preseason game.
That seems hard to do, even, accidentally. You would think you'd lose one in there somewhere, but I guess it helps if you have Tucker.
Yeah, that's true. I do want to get to some of your texts just because I promised I would. Phone lines driven by WoodsCountyHunter.com. Jack says, I'm sorry, but Woodside is trash. Not saying I want Malik as the backup, but what do you think about the Titans bringing in a vet? The Titans have done that each of the last 2 years, and Woodside's beat them out both times. So, unfortunately, if you're an anti-Woodside guy, I'm not sure you're going to get much out of it. Texter says, over under 3 deep passing attempts for Willis tonight. Over. I think Malik is going to throw the ball. I think he's going to throw the ball underneath.
Show off that arm, baby.
I think he's going to throw the ball deep. I think he's going to throw the ball at people's feet. I think he's going to throw the ball behind people. And then I think he's going to make some beautiful throws and have some beautiful runs. And it's going to be a very mixed bag. Can the Titans end the 20-game preseason winning streak for the Ravens? We shall see. That's it for us. We're out of here. ESPN Radio is up next. And, of course, we'll have a full reaction tomorrow starting at 2 o'clock. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.